All right, guys, what's up? Oh, that's wrong. What's up? So I was kind of sitting here today, and I was like, you know what? How can I procrastinate from doing All Stars work? And I was like, huh. So like, there's this track Boingburg I made like a couple of years ago. I've made a couple of changes since I made it, but like, I don't like it. How would I change it if I had like time and energy and the desire to do so? So here I am. Today, we're going to talk about how I would change Boingburg. Um, I guess let's do an introduction to the track. So Boingburg is a track I made a couple of years ago. It's about a minute lap time, and it has some pretty crazy gimmicks. The first of which is over here. It's a slime ball gimmick. Basically, what this does is when you drive over these pressure plates, it gives you a slime ball called Activator, and what you do is you drop it, right? You drop the slime ball, right? And after a few seconds, it does this. So it adds a wall tap. It kind of changes throughout time. And it also changes the sand into blue ice. And this basically means, so without the gimmick, the fastest way to take this corner is by block stopping right here. And I've done some like tuning or whatever you want to call it to make sure like it's a pretty good block stop. You don't have to be in the sand for too long. It stops you pretty quickly and it's pretty consistent. That was the intent. It also broadcast it to the entire server. I'll change that real quick. You know what? Okay, we'll be back. Yeah. So when you use a slime ball, or when you drop a slime ball, it actually tells anyone who's in spectator that they use a gimmick. So that's cool for spectating a race. You can see who uses it when, stuff like that. But yeah, I just changed it so that it only happens if you're like within 2,000 blocks of the command block. So yeah. Anyways, so the fastest way to take this corner is by doing the block stop right here. But basically, what a slime ball does, you know what? Yeah, this is gonna be a long recording. Or large timeless. Basically, if you're driving and you're doing the thing right, then you try a block stop there, but you go wide here, and because there's no more sand, right? So you go careening outside and you get stuck right here. And it also allows P2 in this case to wall tap right here. So basically what you can do is if you're P2 falling right behind P1, right, and you know they're gonna go for the block stop, you can use this ahead of time, like way over there, and then they die, and then you wall tap and get the free overtake, right? And it does get nerfed from like full blocks to fences that if you're too, or actually it's supposed to be fences for by the time you reach it as P2. P1, if they recognize that you use the slime ball and they predict it, they can just hit the full blocks. But then by the time you reach it, it should be fences, so it should be a little bit slower. It's kind of a balancing thing. Yeah, so that's that gimmick, right? And you can basically get one per lap. You have to go, the main line through this corner is like, just hugging me inside, right? So if you want to slime ball, you have to go very far outside. Not very far, actually. I'll get back on that. But yeah, so you can just go out there. And yeah, and there is a system, by the way, that detects if you have more than you're supposed to, which I'm sure makes this fun time trial. There you go. And now, if you're not supposed to have, like, it's not going to activate now, hypothetically. Okay, good. And then activate. All right. Yeah, so that's the first gimmick, right? And that's pretty crazy. That adds a consumable item to boat racing, and I don't think many other tracks, if any, have done it. I have done this before, or since, except for D's Nuts Mall, but that's not a heavily driven track. And that track is crazy. It has like 3 currencies. It's crazy. The second one is Pawn Skip right here. Pawn Skip is a basically you get why you get no gravity for a certain period of time here. The boat gets no gravity, so it can't fall, and then you have to get across this pond. And of course, if you don't have enough time, or if you don't do it quick enough, it'll remove your no gravity. And right, you can see my particle trail. I kind of stay up here for a second, and then I start falling, right? So you have to make it across, and if you don't make it across in time, you fall down. So basically how you do this is you need enough speed. Let's see if I can do this first try. I don't know if I think this is balanced for OS2, and it was super difficult. Oh, I'm so bad. Yeah, not even close, right? But yeah, that's the basic idea. And if you fall, you have to go all the way over here. And it's not. I mean, it's pretty crazy, right? Like if you do it correctly, you're saving like 2 seconds. If you do it correctly every lap, you're saving like 2 seconds per lap, and that is broken. But if you fail, I think it's like 2 second time loss, or maybe even 3 seconds. So it's pretty volatile. Like you can try to get an overtake with it, or you can like not, right? Or you can, like if you're P3 or if you're P2 and there's P1 right in front of you and P3 right behind you, and you go for it, and you make it, you overtake P1. But if you miss it, you get overtaken by P3, right? And it's very volatile. Those are the two main gimmicks of this track. There's also the Joker lap, but that basically just you drive in here, it shoots you out of a cannon here with yeets, right? And this has implications if you're lagging. See Blue Leader in OS2, and Soda Soaker in OS2. But yeah, so those are like the main features of the track, like the main gimmicks and stuff of the track. Otherwise, it's a mid-tempo. Yeah, I'd say like mid-tempo. Who's driving it? Mid-tempo, some high-tempo, low-speed sections, and some high-speed corners. Like for instance, turn 1. Or I guess if it's, I don't know. Like I call this turn 1, right? And there's a Blockstop here and stuff, and it's that fast a high speed corner. There's a high speed corner kind of like right here, but there's a Blockstop, and then there's also a high speed corner right here, depending on if you take it normally or pawn skip. Otherwise, we have definitely high tempo right here because you just turn like immediate back to back. This is like a mid tempo thing, I guess. Mid-tempo, or this is technically these turns back-to-back are high-tempo. This is mid-tempo, I'd say, and that's mid-tempo, and then, this is low-tempo, high-speed, and then mid to mid-high tempo, low-speed. So basically, it's primarily mid to high tempo, which, and it doesn't make use of, like, wall taps or anything that, like, so generally, basic TLDR or like tempo refers to how frequently your brain gets like activated, or that's one way of defining it, right? It also can be defined as the frequency of turns, right? So you turn, and then like very briefly afterwards is another turn, right? And very briefly afterwards is another turn. That's a high tempo. But if you like go like Baku, right, and you like you do turn 1, and then there's a giant straight, and then there's another turn. And even giants are straight. You're waiting for 15 seconds, and then another turn, and then another straight, and you wait for like 5 seconds, right? That's super low tempo. Or course through tunnel is kind of also low tempo. So this is definitely like a mid to high tempo track, right? And generally, tempo is inversely related to speed. So if you have a high-speed track, it's generally low tempo. Just see like all FC1 tracks. Most FC1 tracks are high speed, low tempo. You wait forever between turns, and you're going very high speed for most of the track. Because there's a lot of straightaways, and it's very big scale. Inversely, high tempo, meaning that you turn a lot very frequently, generally means low speed. See like open karting or like BRWC tracks in general, or like old BRWC tracks. There's turns back to back really quickly in quick succession, but you don't have that much time to gain speed in between turns. So generally they're inversely related. So if one is higher, the other gets lower. So this is a mid to high tempo track, meaning that your speed is going to be mid to low. And generally, imagine you're going 1,000,000 miles an hour, or 1,000,000 meters per second, and you're driving a car and you're going 1,000,000 meters per second, and you start braking a second too late. You miss the apex by 1,000,000 blocks. But if you're going 1 meter per second and you start turning a second too late, you miss the apex by 1 block, right? And that's, of course, no one's going like 1,000,000 blocks a second. But like in boat racing, but like 70 meters per second versus like 20, right? And you're gonna be a lot more precise, or you can be. There's a lot more room for error. Like if you brake 0.2 seconds later than you're supposed to when you're going 70 meters per second compared to 20 meters per second, then you're going to miss the apex a lot more, right? So that's a brief explanation of why speed is kind of important, or like why high speed kind of maybe, at least from what I understand right now, is probably pretty important for racetracks. But this track doesn't have that many of them. There's turn 1, I guess, which is good, and there's this, which, I mean, I tuned it so that you, the block stop should be pretty consistent, and then there's this. And this and this have block stops, so that's cool. And I guess block stops, for those unaware, are when you drive over blocks to slow yourself down intentionally, right? And they are kind of inconsistent due to the current theory of friction being calculated every tick, but you can input and drive based on your frame rate, I believe. So there's like 3 frames for every friction update, and you might, like, you're gonna, I don't want to get too far into it. Basically, they're inconsistent by nature of Minecraft. Wow, that was a lot. Okay, I want to move on. Anyways, so right now, the track is mainly being used for BWC. Like, it could be used for other leagues, but they aren't really choosing to use it, and I don't blame them. This is not very good for competitive, because reasons I'll get into in a second. But yeah, basically, right now, it's being used in BWC. Across servers, I don't think this is on Boat Labs, but on this server, Frostex, pawn skip is very hard. Like, you don't have much time to get across. You have to be very precise. But on BWC, it's a lot easier because you can actually change how long they have no gravity for. It's based on command block system, which is another issue with this track, because eventually we're apparently going to want to omit command blocks completely from the server. So we'll have to deal with that. But anyways, one thing to think about or take note of is that pawn skip is ping based. Basically, what this pawn skip is doing is it detects a driver in a certain range, we'll say like here to here, right? And if a driver is in here, it gives them no gravity. And then when they leave the range, it starts counting down, right? So if I go into a boat, you see that 65, that's 65 hundredths of a second. So this is 0.65 seconds, right? And then once I leave the range, it'll start counting down, right? And then when it hits 0, it deactivates it. So basically what you're doing with high ping, right? So like it takes a while for the server to realize where you are, right? Because you're sending the packet from you to the server. The server is like, okay, I'll calculate, and then it sends it back to you, or sends information back to you. So you can be here, right? And you're at 65, right? And then let's say that you have bad ping. So then the server realizes that you're out of the region when you're over here, because you've, like, in the time that it's taken you to send the packet from your client to the server, you've already traveled this far, right? If you have high ping. Compared to if you have low ping, you'd only travel this far, right? So now you have like this much more advantage, like 6 or so blocks or whatever, or however big your ping is, right? Your ping in milliseconds times velocity is, I guess, distance, number of blocks advantage, right? Which I guess velocity changes in here, so whatever. Anyways, yeah, and then, so it's like, okay, now I'm going to start counting down when you're like already over here. So you have a lot more advantage, right? So this is inherently ping-based, right? So, and there's also inconsistencies, and sometimes if you have like if your connection kind of just dies for seconds, then you never get the no gravity, because the server never recognizes you as being in the region, or even worse, or another possibility is that it realizes you were in the region, but like you're already over here, right? And you're already falling in. I don't think I've ever seen anyone like go for it, start falling, and then get no gravity like before they hit the water, because the server's like, oh, they have such bad ping. I've never seen that, but I can see that happening. That'd be pretty funny. But yeah, so pawn skip is inherently ping based. Technically, slime ball gimmick, like the Blockstop sabotage gimmick, is also ping based, but it's not like that's pretty easy to account for. Just throw it like a little bit earlier or whatever. If you have like really high ping, just throw it earlier to compensate. Yeah, that's basically all it is. But yeah, like the ping is a big deal in here. And for those, or I guess yeah. So we've released Northern Water Tribe and All Stars, and basically that's kind of my fix to pawn skip. Pawn skip right now, like the good thing about pawn skip is that you have to have a certain amount of speed. You can't just like do it like really carefully at low speed because you don't have enough time to get across. So basically what Northern Water Tribe does is it uses this mechanic or behavior called wall priority, which basically means that some walls are easier to phase through. Like you can drive like this and your boat will kind of just go through the blocks. That's negative priority. Positive priority is when your boat is like way far away from the blocks, like it shouldn't be hitting the walls, but it hits the walls. That's positive priority. And that, from what we understand, depends on north, east, southwest. I don't remember which is positive or negative. But basically, so what I do is I put negative priority. So that means that if you're going faster, the wall is less efficient, or it has a lower chance of hitting you. Like it's actually going to be like, it's going to act smaller if you're going fast. But if you're going slow, it's going to act larger. So hypothetically, you can make a, let me just go to it. So yeah, so here's Northern Water Tribe, and here's the temple ship, we're calling it. Technically, if you go really slow, you can make it across. Like you can make it across. Like you can even make it across without bumping, right? Like you can do this. But if you're going fast, you can actually like just kind of go through a little bit, right? And you have a lot more leeway. So that's kind of like, you don't have to take it super fast, but like it's going to be a lot easier to take it fast. So that's kind of like one way how I fixed it. And it doesn't depend on ping, which is the good part. It does not depend on ping at all. Yeah, so anyways, yes, so we should define what we're going to use the track for, right? Because like the thing about tracks is that you can make them and set them up for any environments, right? I can adjust this track to be more beginner friendly by adding more packed ice, making the road wider, and so on, right? And then it's a beginner track, right? In like maybe BWC VGAR, something like that, right? I can make it a VGAR track, or I can make it more of a VGA track by making it harder, thinking about Blockstops, hard wall taps, making the gimmick harder, right? Like less lenient, like less time to get across, etc., right? So you can make a track and design it so that it favors, different skill levels, or, even maybe racing environments. For instance, like a league that's like, you have two leagues and they have like the same skill level drivers, right? Like VGA level drivers, but one of them does like races of like 10, 12 people, and the other does races of 30 people, right? And suddenly there's a lot more drivers on track, right? Sorry about that. And that's my cap lock sound. Yeah. And that changes the environment and like the raceability of the track. So I guess for the sake of this, we're just gonna say we're gonna improve the track for BWC VGA, right? Because that's kind of like what's mainly being used for right now. Of course, if you want to use it for off season or all stars in the future or whatever, we can make different changes. Honestly, I would not recommend this for competitive use, but I mean, BWC, whatever, go for it. Yeah, so I guess, let's get into it. The first thing I think of always is that I hate this section. This section just sucks. This is a high tempo section, so like low speed. No one's gonna really make a mistake. Like no one's making a mistake on this corner that's gonna lead to an overtake, nor with this corner. Technically, they can on this corner, but I'll go into Blockstops in a minute, and then nothing's gonna happen here. Literally nothing. Nothing happens for like this entire stretch, right? Here, let me. I'm prepared. So like this entire stretch, nothing happens. Nothing. So I would just omit it. Like nap time is currently 1 minute. I think that's fine. So I'd have to add something else. But yeah, something that requires you to be more precise, or I guess precise without block stops, and not as high tempo. If you look at my more recent tracks, like Northern Water Tribe, Fourth Layer, and like Mementos even, those are a lot lower tempo tracks, higher speed tracks. Because like what I said earlier about if you have a high speed, you need to be more precise. Because if you break 0.2 seconds late, then you're off by more. You're off the apex by more, right? So yeah, I've been leaning more towards like high speed tracks. So yeah, we kind of do something the same. There's not that much space unless you want to change the decoration, which is a whole nother can of worms. Which I guess we could. yeah, I don't have a specific like, oh yeah, this is exactly the layout I would swap it with, but maybe it's like just a line here. Here, let me I don't know, like there, and like I don't know, like that or something like that. I don't know. Anyways, like just yeah, just get rid of it. This is terrible. Let's talk about this, right? So this is interesting because it's a Blockstop, right? And I stole this from a different track like a long time ago as a priority track. And this is kind of how you take it. I'm bad, so I'm gonna mess it up. But yeah, you typically want to mow more, like driving the block stop harder, because I went super wide. Let me try that one more time. You're gonna want to block stop a little more, right? And I did talk about earlier how block stops are inconsistent, so that's also another reason why. Well, I guess like we can. So basically, I mean, if block stops are inconsistent, that means that more mistakes might happen, right? They go for a block stop, but they don't get lucky, and they go wide, and that might lead to an overtake. Sure, because this will go into how boat racing works and like how you like get overtakes. The main way you get overtakes is if they make a mistake. If the person in front of you makes a mistake, then you can get across. There's no slipstream. There's no DRS. There's no tire wear. There's no difference in car make. So there's none of that. There's no conventional like, yes, this is how I'm gonna like. There's no advantages for being in P2, right? Because in F1 you have DRS, which means you get to go faster on long straights. So you just overtake them. In conjunction with slipstream, which is just a natural physics phenomenon where you drive behind someone, there's less air in the way of your car, so there's less drag, and you get to accelerate more, right? That's not in boat racing, so you don't get that. And then with how different boat racing is from real life is you build up speed, a scalar quantity, aka just a number called speed, and you get to use that speed to take you around the track. Sometimes you need to lower your speed to make a corner. Basically, most corners you're gonna have to basically brake on most corners in F1 or just in real life car racing in general. And then you turn and redirect your speed through the corner accordingly. In boat racing, you have velocities. You have velocity in the east-west direction, aka the x-axis, and you have velocity in the z, so north-south axis, right? And I mean, technically, you can say like, oh yeah, like the 45 is also like a vector, but like for our purposes, since you can only hit things on like the east-west faces and the south-north faces, we can just simplify it to x-axis vector and z-axis vector, and that's actually how like Minecraft is coded. It's actually 3 vectors, like x, y, z vectors. So why does this matter, right? So in real life, you have speed, and turning the car redirects your speed. Where am I going with this? Like I can explain this, but why am I even saying this? Hold on. Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, so turning the car redirects where your speed is going. So if I turn the car, if I'm going 80 meters per second this way, right? If I'm going 80 meters per second west, right, and I turn the car, I will now be going, if I'm facing this way, and assuming I don't like tumble the car or whatever, and I'm not drifting or anything, and like I have full grip and I'm, like an F1 car, right? If I'm facing this way, I'm now going 80 meters per second this way. Setting aside that you slow down due to drag and stuff, whatever. 80 meters per second this way, facing this way. You turn, and when you're done turning and you're facing this way, you're going 80 meters per second this way. In boat racing, right, and this happens regardless of if your foot is on the throttle, like pushing it down, like you're accelerating the car, or if you're not. If you're going 80 meters per second and you take your foot off the gas and then you turn, you're still going to be going 80 meters per second this way once you're done turning. In boat racing, if you're holding down W the whole time, it kind of looks like that, right? And now, like, I'm going this way. I mean, you can look at this line and be like, okay, well, you're not going exactly this way, so like already we're like not like real life. Because if you're in real life, once you're done rotating, if you had a particle trail, it would look like this, right? It would look straight where you're looking, right? But in boat racing, I mean, like look at this already, right? I'm turning, and it's not straight this way. It is an angle like this, right? So already we're off. But if you take the boat and you let go of W and you turn, you're still going this way. You're not going this way at all, right? I'm bad and I don't have boat control, so I was slightly going a little bit this way. But you get the idea. So what does this mean? In real life, let's take this corner, for example, right? Let's say that there's two different cars. There's a car right here who's going 70 meters per second, and there's a car right here that's going 90 meters per second. What you could basically do is both cars can stay in parallel. I guess, I don't know if the math checks out, but the basic concept is this car goes slower, this car goes faster. Lower speed, higher speed. They can be parallel to each other, right? So right here, they're going to be right here, right? And this is still going 70, this is still going 90 or whatever, right? And you keep going, and then driving, and then go like this, right? And that's going 90. And now there's a right-hand turn, and they're on a straightaway, in between. So now this car going 70 is behind this car that's going 90, right? Because this car traveled this distance faster, or traveled more distance in the same amount of time, right? So basically this means that you can do a maneuver P1 and P2 somehow situates them right here, and they can carry more speed around the corner, because if you try to carry too much speed around the corner, you're gonna spin out. Your tires are not gonna they're gonna lose their friction. You're gonna start drifting, and then you're eventually gonna spin out, right? So you can't go infinite speed around the corners, or else you're just gonna that's just how it is. You can increase how fast you can going around corners with downforce or whatever. I'm not gonna get too far into that, but let's just say 90 is as fast as they can go before they start sliding out, and 70 is as fast as they can go inside here without spinning out, because it's a tighter radius, right? Tighter turning radius. So in boat racing, in cars, right, that'll work. If P1 is right here, P2 is right here, and then they go around, like I said, that'll work. In boat racing, if you try doing this, it does not work, because you're not redirecting your speed. It's not like you're going 70 meters per second around the whole thing, on this, and you're going 90 meters per second around the whole thing for this. No, you're just wasting time. You're traveling more distance because you're not redirecting your speed. You're adding velocity in this axis and in this axis, right? And you're just slowing down naturally. If I let go of W, you see I'm in my boat HUD, I am slowing down naturally, right? So you are slowing down a little bit if you're not pointing in that direction. But that's not nearly enough, especially on blue ice. It's not. Basically, if you try doing this in boat racing, it will never work. Unless there's tuning on your side, this will never work unless they're letting go of W. In which case, you can kind of simulate. If you have the situation right, like I was showing, if this guy just feathers W, just goes like this, technically you can recreate the real life thing. But that no one is ever going to be doing this in a race. Unless it's a race where you have to do this, which I don't know, like a fun race or something. I don't know. So you can't go outside or any of that stuff. You can't do traditional racing things where you gain speed by going wide or whatever, or take a lower turn radius to keep more speed. Although we do have the advantage in Minecraft of tuning. So if I made the inside packed ice and the outside blue ice, then this situation maybe could work. But you need to test it, and honestly, the packed ice would probably only go out to here, so the blue ice. So it wouldn't even be like this. It would be more like this, which is still fine. But yeah. But yeah, so that's one thing. And there's another problem with Minecraft boat racing is that there's a distance. So if you see I'm driving, right, there's a lightning rod, and I'm ahead of the lightning rod on my screen, but we're not going to talk about that. If someone else is watching me, my boat and my character are behind my lightning rod, right? If you're familiar with boat racing, you already know this. But basically, in real life, you have there's no delay. If there's a car right here, there's a car right here, and that's it. It's not like and there's also no network stutters, so not just stop and then stop and then because they have bad connection, But in Minecraft they do. So instead of being able to drive right behind their ghosts or where their boat seems to be, you have to leave a little bit of space in case they stutter, the connection stutters, right? Because if the connection stutters, you drive into the back of them, and now you're bumping and going super wide and dying, right? So you have to respect more space, right? And the thing is, like, the crucial thing is, if you're racing in real life, and there's rules about this, if P1 is here, if P2 is right here, they can't just get right of way. Like, the old P1 has to kind of respect this, right? Or, I guess I will admit I'm not super familiar with, like, real life racing and stuff. I'm pretty sure you can't just, like, cut them off right here. You can't just, like, cut off P1. So you kind of have to let enough space for P1 to, like, not die. But, like, there's rules about, like, respecting other drivers, right? Like, I mean, so basically, let's see here. Let's say that, I guess I can probably use a dive bomb as an example, right? Let's take turn 1. So, if you're real life cars, right, the fastest line from my limited experience is probably going to be something like, here, let me draw this. Wait, the fastest line is probably going to be something like this, right? You start, like, breaking, like, right here or something, right? So then what a dive bomb line can do, let's see here, a dive bomb line, so that P1 is purple, right? P2 is orange. Dive bomb line will look something like this, and then you, like, brake right here, and then you just, like, slowly do whatever. So what happens is, P1 or P2 can be behind P1, but then it's faster to go from here to here in a straight line instead of going wide like P2 or P1 does, right? So this is called a dive bomb line, because you're dive bombing the inside. And what P1 has to do is, oh shit, he's right here now, and I'm, like, right here. Like, P1 is, like, right here by the time P2 reaches right here. So, if there was no collisions, then P1 would kind of, like, or P2, the orange, would kind of go wide, and then P1 would just go through and have more speed and still be in front, right? Because, this is the faster line. Dive bombing is not faster, right? We're defining the purple line as the fastest line. So, of course, after the turn, like, by here, it's probably going to be, like, the purple line, whoever takes the purple line is in front of whoever takes the orange line. But that's without collisions. With collisions, the purple guy, P1, has to be scared of getting colliding with P2, the orange right here. So to prevent that, they have to slow down. And depending on how this is done, the orange guy might overtake purple guy, because purple guy no longer has enough speed to get around them, and they have him in the way. We'll see if I remember to edit that out. Anyways, shit, that's annoying. Wait, hold on. All right, yeah. So basically, the purple line has to slow down to not crash into orange, right? And depending on how they do this, they might not have enough speed to get past them, or their line might be totally blocked, so they have to take a different line. And at that point, they lost the position, and they're not gonna have enough speed or resources to get around the orange guy. So orange guy gets the overtake. So this works because of the distance between the cars and how much they have to respect each other. One thing is, if they crash, they can die. They could, like, break their arm. They could get stabbed through the heart. They can fucking explode. So there's safety rules. Like, you kind of have to respect them. Like, if you see you're getting dive bombed and you know that they're going to reach there in time, unless you want to get sued and crash a car and explode, you kind of have to that off, right? In Minecraft, you can just drive and get bumped, and you lose, like, 10 seconds at worst or whatever, and 10 seconds is a lot. It's probably more like 4 or 5 seconds depending on how you do it. And no one dies, you don't get stabbed through the heart, you don't explode, you don't get sued, and that's it, because it's Minecraft and you can drive into walls, for Pete's sake, right? So there's already more respect that you have to have in real life. And also, the key thing is, basically, right here, I'm gonna get the actual purple. P1 is, like, right here, and P2 is, like, right here. Or I guess maybe, like, right here, right? Like, right behind. Like, super, like, literally right behind. If you watch F1, they're like right behind each other, right? And this is so they can get slipstream and stuff and etc. But in boat racing, this is not how it works. If you have P2, right? So let's draw P1. P1's on their screen, they're right here. Their rod, or what everyone else sees is their rod is right here. And then their actual ghost is right here. This is where people see the person in the boat, driving, right? And we're saying we're going to the left, right? And then P2, normally you're behind their ghost, right? So on your screen, P2, if you're P2, on your screen, you're right here. And then what everyone else sees is your rod right here, and then they see you in your boat. We call it the ghost, the ghost, right here, right? So instead of, that's how it is in Minecraft, but in real life, you get to just be right here. So now, what this means is that you only have to travel this distance for them to respect you, to not crash the car. But if, so like I said in boat racing, if you were to get bumped, you lose 4 or 5 seconds. To be fair, 4 or 5 seconds is a lot of time, right? So let me just redraw this down here so I can get it out of the way. So this is real life. So you're not going to want to get bumped. But the thing is, you get bumped. P1 gets bumped if this guy goes in front. And how do you do that? That means that the ghost has to travel this distance, right? Let me redraw this in red. It has to travel this distance for it to even possibly happen. Meanwhile, real life has to travel this distance. That's already bad enough. The thing is, P2 in real life can technically drive to here and be in a threatening position. They can block a line. They don't even have to be in front. They can they can be side by side and they can already threaten. But in boat racing, that's not the case, right? For a bump to happen, you have to travel distance. For you to boat lag them, which is boat lag occurs when you drive into a lightning rod, you have to travel this distance, right? Or your rod has to travel this distance. You have to travel this distance on your screen, right? So this is the same distance. So this is, we'll call that X. Sure, that's definitely an X, right? So that's the thing. You have to travel a lot more distance. And the thing is, they do not have to respect you for shit until you actually get that distance. In real life, you can like I said, be parallel with them and they have to respect you. Hell, you can even probably be behind them and they're gonna have to respect you. But in boat racing, you can just say whatever and not have to do any of it. You don't have to respect them at all. There's hilariously low respect you actually need in boat racing when there's people behind you. Because they have to get through this. P2 has to get through this guy. And that's already hard enough without, slipstream. You can't go wide on a corner like I was talking about right here, right? You can't do this thing in different speeds unless it's tuning, but even then it's is it even a difficult corner at that point? And, if you make a difficult corner with 2 different lines and, sure, but anyways, you can't do that, right? And then even if you get past this guy, you're now in tandem, and if you make any mistakes and they don't, then this guy drives through your lightning rod and then bumps you, right? So, and they still don't have to respect you. I mean, sure, they have to, they're okay, well, he's in tandem, that's scary, and now I can't make any mistakes. But, this guy has been thinking that the whole time since this guy has been here, right? It's hilariously shitty. It's so, there's so many things that make boat racing just terrible and question why we even do this, right? It's just, because you have to there's so much more space, you have so many less resources, and they don't have to respect you for shit, right? So that's one of the main problems with boat racing, is that overtaking is just impossible, right? So how do you get past, how does P1 or P2 get past this guy, right? Or the ghost, right? So there's split routes, right? Split routes mean, hey, I don't have to respect this guy because he's gone. He's on the other route. You can go this route, and then, when they meet back up, then, if this guy is in front of this guy, then cool. Now I'm in tandem, and now I get to actually, like, work on stuff, right? If you have bad ping, if you drive into the lightning rod, you actually just get bow lag hard, or you get bow lag hard enough that you actually just end up in here, and then you get bumped and whatever. Anyways, so you're still not out of the woods, even if you, like, do that, right? In real life, if there was split routes, and, like, you can just drive that distance and be totally fine, and you get past it. It's free. Or it's not free, but it's so much better, right? That's one way, split routes, right? Another way is with gimmicks, right? So, for instance, pawn skip right here is a split route, right? You have this route and you have this route, right? So that's kind of a thing. Although, the lines might intersect, right? But, like, whatever. Sure, but, like, Cyberworld gimmick is another gimmick that works, where basically what we're doing is it's a dive bomb line. It's literally exactly this, but, like, I had to work a lot harder to make it happen. Like, it's not just herp to their straightaway sharp corner like real life can do. They can just do that and be like, okay, sure. They might do a little bit of, like, simulation or whatever to make sure it works or whatever, but that's it. I have to do 2 different split routes, make them completely different, and test it to make sure that the fastest line, which, by the way, I'm bad, so that's hard for me, I have to make the fastest line the same. For those who are unaware, several gimmick, we'll just use this as an example, pawn skip. It's 2 different routes. There's a fast route and there's a slow route, right? I guess you can just do this, right? So they go this way, and then it's this way. So the fast route is this route. The slow route is this route, right? So then you're going up, and P1's here, P2's here, and then, by the time they meet the intersection, P2 is here, P1 is here. And then they can bump, but P1 has a lot more speed, so if he avoids the bump, you end up P1, P2, right? But basically, that means that P2 is here with a slower line. They're going to have lower exit speed, but P1 is here by the time they reach this area right here. And that means that P1 can get bumped by P2. Very similar to here, where P2 can briefly get in front of P1, hypothetically if this was during boat racing, right? P2 can briefly get in front of P1 and possibly bump them and throw them off, and now P2 is ahead. That's what Cyberworld gimmick is. It's literally just a dive bomb line, but 2 different routes and a lot of labbing, and if I drank, I'd probably get drunk a lot of drunk nights, and it sometimes works. So that's what Cyberworld gimmick is, right? Or just other gimmicks, like, like what if there was a cheese grater, and it made it thinner, and if you bumped, you went wide, or whatever, right? Other gimmicks, right? So we're using the capability to be creative in Minecraft to allow scenarios where people die and people can get past. That's how you get overtakes, other than split routes. There's also P1 can get bumped by a back marker. Let's say this is like P10 and they're driving like super slowly, right? P1 can drive into him and bump out, right? And then P2 can now take their place and get the overtake, right? Those are kind of like the main ways to overtake in boat racing. Where was I going with this? Let me remember. It has been 43 minutes. What the hell? I guess real quick, I will just say, like, yeah, if you try to do the dive bomb line in Minecraft, instead of like this, you'd have this, and you'd have to overcome so much more distance, right? Like this distance, for a dive bomb to actually be possible, right? So that's why the Cyberworld gimmick is how it is, and that's why dive bombs are not super consistent. If you're in tandem, right, it's a lot more akin to this, right? But you still have to get your lightning rod ahead, and that's just like disregarding ping differences, by the way. Also, these X's are probably actually different. These are probably actually different. It's just you get your. Well, I guess now this is a player, so yeah, it's actually only the lightning rod that you really care about. Yeah. Okay, I think I know. So basically, like, that makes, like, this concept makes this section completely useless. Because you're never gonna, like, that like this right here in tandem with, like, no slipstream, no different speeds around this corner, like, different speeds but in parallel, none of that. You have nothing to help you. This section is completely useless. This section is nothing aside from the Blockstop, but we can talk about that. Or I think I already talked about that. No, I didn't. Briefly, I'll try to keep this brief. If you're in tandem, right? Whoever reaches here first, like, gets slowed down, and then whoever is behind the other person's lightning rod just gets stuck, right? Because they can't pass the lightning rod, so they get stuck behind, and then they even might get past, but it goes. That's terribly explained. I have a whole thing, like a whole chart. Yeah, actually, all right, we back. Can I zoom in? Oh, let's go. So yeah, so basically, there's like, oh, I am probably spoiling so much. Hold on. So basically, this is a graph I made a while back on what happens with a block stop, right? So basically, there's 4 different scenarios when you try to do a block stop like this right here, right? So you either hit it perfectly, cool, that's green. There's different ways you can fail it. You can either fail it and not block stop enough and go wide like I did earlier, right? So it doesn't stop you enough and you go wide. That's the second red. The first red is you eat too much and then you get stuck in here and then you slowly get out. That's the first red. And then there's the line where you just don't block stop at all. That's the simple 4 different ways to get around a corner like this where there's a block stop right here, right? So I made a diagram, and basically if hypothetically both people, P1 and P2, took the corner normally without the block stop, then the distance shouldn't change, right? Hypothetically. Aside from, like, you know, you happen to slow down to respect or ghost more because, you know, the distance changes because you're going slow, whatever. Aside from that, just basic, yeah. But then if you, and this kind of holds true for all 4. Like, if you do the same thing for all 4 of them, there's no that change, right? But basically, there's explanations on each one of these things. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 out of the 16 times, P2 loses because they get blocked or, you know, whatever. 2 of those 16 times, you actually get closer. And you can maybe even overtake, right? And then 2 of those 16 times, it's probably nothing's going to happen. You might get a small chance to get closer, but most likely not. And then 5 of those times is nothing's going to happen. So basically, 7 of the 16 times you lose. 2 of the times you win. That's terrible. that's not good, right? Like, it's so stacked towards P1, right? And you can read this there. It's the Wikipedia, or not Wikipedia. It's the boat racing wiki on Blockstop. It's in there. Yeah. So that's what makes this corner or Blockstop typically bad. But like I was saying, right? So like one of the main ways if you do overtake is if P1 makes a mistake. If they, you know, for instance, miss a Blockstop and go wide, and you hit it, then you can get the overtake, right? And what can happen is, I guess, like I was talking about like 20 minutes ago or whatever, since Blockstops are kind of luck-based, they might not Blockstop enough, and then they go wide, and then you might get the Blockstop good enough, or, you know, you just predict that this is going to happen, and you take it normally or whatever, and you can get the overtake. But that's based on luck, right? And that's like, I don't know, like that's something that I guess as a track creator you're going to have to think about if you want your track to be like, because this overtake right there, like I just showed, is based on luck. If they got lucky and they didn't go wide because they got a bad block stop, then nothing would have happened. The only reason why P2 could have overtaken P1 in there in the first place is because P1 got unlucky because they didn't get a good block stop because of how Minecraft works. If you want to have that in your tracks, go for it. But I mean, like I showed you that diagram of like the seven times you lose and 2 times you win as P2, right? Like it's generally, like, luck aside, it's bad. So I say this corner is bad. I say this whole section's bad. Can just omit. Finally, we're past the first part. Next, I mean, there's the obvious pawn skip needs to not be ping based. I already covered that, and I already went over that in Northern Water Tribe. Then there's this, and basically, what a strat is on this track is that you just hit this every lap. This is what gives you the slime ball gimmick, the slime ball item, which is the other gimmick, right? Which I talked about. Removes the sand, adds a wall, you can wall tap, stuff like that. They just keep doing this every lap, and they essentially kind of become immune to the gimmick. So what that means is that like the main way you get an overtake on this gimmick is if you predict them, you go for the block stop, and then you use this gimmick and you hit the wall tap and they go wide and stuff like that. But what doing this every that basically means is that they never have to deal with that. They're never taking the block stop, so they can just they're gonna get a slime ball right here, they're gonna drive, and they're gonna set up a wall, and they're gonna hit the wall every lap, and there's nothing you can do about that. What this means is that you get a free wall tap if you're right behind them. They set up a wall right here. You get a free wall tap now, but that doesn't mean anything because you don't get past them, right? So I guess in this case, the main thing is that the overtaking spot goes from here to now here, because now if they go wide, then they lose time right here, and then maybe you have enough to get into tandem, or if you were in tandem beforehand, you can get past them. So there's that, but I don't think you lose enough time going here, right? And this is a hard thing to balance because now it's like you're not only balancing against, this strat, right, where you just go on this every lap. You also have to balance it just for general use, like the main intended use of like you mostly go this line, but you sometimes go for this to get an item, and you can use it later or whatever, and then etc. Right? That's the main use. But this method, the invincible or immune to the gimmick method, is something that you also have to work around. And I don't have an easy solution for this. It'd probably just be like slow it down and just say L to people doing the main thing of like doing this seldomly. Yeah. But yeah, it'd probably just be make this route slower. Like, there's some checkerboard right here you can see. I kind of covered a lot of it, but yeah, there's checkerboard right here, so it does slow you down a little bit. You can still hit this pressure plate, so I'd probably like remove this pressure plate, maybe make this checkerboard like packed edge or something. I don't know. Yeah, so there's that. So this will you're gonna want to nerf that method of setting up a wall every time. I guess one downside of the methods is that your lap time's gonna be slower, right? But I guess if you have a pawn skip, if you lose half a second here, but you hit pawn skip 100% of the time, and this is 2 seconds faster than normal route, then you're actually like, and most people aren't doing this every time, then you're actually just going up a second and a half. Like you're a second and a half faster, right? And in that case, like your lap is that. I think Lapis actually used the strat, wall every lap. So if hypothetically in BRWC you like hit pawn skip every lap, which honestly you should, it's super easy in BRWC, then this kind of like gets nullified, right? Because for P2 to keep up with you, to exploit this weakness of you going wide so they can go inside and overtake, they have to be behind you, which means they either get one shot at doing this, right? Because if they don't pawn skip, then you just gain 2 seconds on them and you're gone, and there's not enough space, this doesn't even matter anymore. Or they have to go for pawn skip as well, and if they're not used to that, then shit. Yeah, so I guess just making this slower probably helps. Quick little thing. What's cool about this gimmick is that you can use it for teammates. Like this actually synergizes really well with teammates, which is unusual for boat racing. Because if you have 2 guys right here, and P1 is this guy and P2 is this guy, and P1 looks back like boat cam, you can look backwards, and he's like, okay, he didn't throw it, so there's no gimmick use. They can be like, oh yeah, I'm getting a Blockstop. But you can have a teammate on the other side of the map be like, haha, okay. P2 says, okay, use it now, dude. Use it now, right? And then he uses it, and then P1 gets memed right here, and then it's funny. So you can actually like stock up on items and use them for your teammates, which is just pretty cool. Just a little side note. Yeah, so yeah, this track is wild. This track is really wild. Yeah, so finally, getting back to this, I'll obviously cut this out, like I said. This section is also like what even happens here, this whole section. But like it's not, I don't know. I guess we'll talk about this section for race starts later. But like I think this corner to this corner is pretty like Boingburg-y. Like if you removed this corner and this corner, it would kind of not feel as much like Boingburg, because I think people like remember the track probably by that. Setting aside if it was good enough for racing and or first lap or like race starts, it's like a pro of keeping it would be that it keeps its identity as track, right? Which I guess, to be fair, it has a lot of identity already. It has a lot of identity already, but yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I would have to think about removing this, but I mean, for race starts, this is not very wide, and then it's not a diagonal, so if you bump, you die, and there's no bump control, which I guess I'll get into in about a month or so, or a couple months maybe. Bump control is something I've started thinking about. TLDR is basically what happens if they bump. So if you're going on the straightaway, right, and you get bumped out, what happens to you, right? As track creators, we can control what happens. We can say if there's a wall right here, well, then you don't lose that much time because you just hit the wall. Like you're driving, you bump, you hit the wall, and then you just keep going, right? But if there's off-road, then what happens is you're driving, you bump, and then you have to slowly turn around and then get out, right? And you lose a lot more time, right? Or what happens is you can possibly have a route right here, right? Not super far out, maybe like 1 or 2 blocks. That's not faster to go in here, right? Like if you're driving, it's not faster to drive through. You should just keep going this way. Like it's not faster. But if you do get bumped, now you're suddenly here, and now you're driving along here, and then the exit can be like over here. Hold on a sec. Yeah, so this is something I'm starting to think about. I'm calling it bump control. Another thing similar to that would be mistake control, right? Mistake control is very similar. It's like answering the question of what happens if they make a mistake, right? So for instance, if there's a wall right here, instead of off-road, it's a wall. What happens? Well, I guess no, this is a bad spot because you're going to want 0 velocity in this axis in a way. So let me find a good spot. Found one. So let's say there's a wall right here, right? So like if you run into this, it's like a wall tap wall, or not a wall tap wall in the sense that you want to hit it, but like just a wall, right? And if you're driving, and you hit it, what would happen is you go wide, and that's mistake control. That's basically saying like, okay, what happens if they make a mistake, like hit this apex or hit this block right here? And this is important because let's say that there's no mistake control, right? I guess in this corner, this would be good because they go wide. Basically what it is that, like what I was talking about up here, what the pro of that is, like having this route for bump control, is that now the straightaway is a lot cleaner, right? What happens is if you bump out and then slowly re-enter, if you re-enter, now you're on the track again, and now you can block people and cause more chaos, right? But if you don't want chaos for a race start, like, yeah, and another good thing is that if there's no route over here, you spend a lot more time getting out. But if there's a route over here, and you set it up correctly, it's actually like you lose less time, which I guess comes down to if you want mistakes to be heavier or not as a track builder. Personally, I would add a route right here, and if they bump out, then they get to lower their punish for bumping, and also get out of the way for people. It's similar right here, right? So what happens is if you're P2 and you're driving, and the person in front of you in green makes a mistake, now they're over here, and now you can just take the inside and not get bumped, right? Versus hypothetically, I'm not sure how this would happen. If there was no bump control and they ended up like right back on the line, you would, or like, I don't know, I guess CGP Snakes Pass is an example, right? There is some mistake control right there. I don't know if I'm going to call it mistake. That's such a long word, like mistake control. It's so long. I might come up with a better name later. But it's similar in that there's like a wall, right? And you hit it, and you hardly go anywhere, right? It's like if you added a wall right here, right? What happens if they hit this apex? What happens if they hit this apex? Well, you have no velocity in this direction, right? So what happens is you kind of just like maybe do like, you end up like right here with like 0 velocity in this direction because you hit this face of the wall, right? So you have 0 velocity in this direction, right? And you want to go like this, right? So you're not like, if you look at this in vectors, right? You have this much velocity in that way and a little arrow this way, right? We can say this arrow is like basically 0, right? So that means that or we can say it's like very minuscule, right? So that means you're just going to sit there on the apex and extend the apex essentially. So that P2 wanted to get through here, we'll just do it in red. P2 wanted to get through here and take the normal line. They now hit you, and then they bump and stay right here because they have 0 velocity this way. So they wouldn't fly this way because they don't have any velocity this way. They would sit here, and now there's a pilot up in turn 1, right? And now there's just chaos and death. So that's bad bump or bad mistake control because they make a mistake, but then other people get punished for it. Versus here, where they hit the thing and then they go wide because they have some velocity this way because the corner's not done yet. They have to go like this, right? So there's some velocity this way. So they hit this, they go wide. In this case specifically, they don't have enough velocity for them to go super wide, so it's not like they're gonna. I guess you could boat tap. You could boat tap them. Ooh. But yeah, so that's basically what mistake control name might change is. So where was I going with this? Yeah, so I guess I would add bump control like right here and like right here, of course. And I guess the diagonal straights are something I'm gonna get a lot more used to, because if you have this straightaway right here where you're going directly in the east-west axis or even north-south axis, right? Like most straightaways are directly along the axis. If they bump, they just sit right here because they have no velocity this way or this way, right? So you have zero control over bump. You have zero bump control. There's nothing as a track builder you can do to get them out of the way and out of traffic and cause. You can't. They're just going to cause death, right? Aside from them possibly having boat utils and driving over, right? So driving over, so someone dies right here. That P2 can just drive, or whoever behind them just drive over, which is inconsistent, by the way, because it's inconsistent driving over people with boat utils. Depends on speed. I guess it depends on how you bump. If you bump within the first 2 seconds, you might not have enough speed for it to for you to get stopped. You might have it might be fine for you to get across. But if you're 5 seconds into the start and you have hella speed, you're just gonna hit them. And you're not gonna get to drive over them without stopping. Anyways, yeah. So I'd add bump control routes right here. Like I said, I'm gonna get a lot more used to diagonal, not start finish, maybe even start finish. Probably, because like I said, if you bump, you just cause death. So probably start finish lines with bump control. Just straightaways in general, diagonal straightaways. I'm gonna get used to that more as a track builder. And then like I said, I don't know if this would remove the identity of the track, and although like I said, there's a lot of identity already. But yeah, it's really this doesn't add much. These S's don't add much because you're not gonna get an overtake here. Because even if they make a mistake, you're gonna be so close to the apex that there's no mistake control. So you're just gonna end up like I said, it's kind of like turn 1 having a wall right here. If they bump the wall, then this is death, right? There's no mistake control. Right here, if they mow, you're going on. You're gonna bump them because they're right on the line, right? They're not moving out of the way of the line. So yeah, these S's don't really do much to help racing at all. Which I guess then we have to talk about, well, is a track supposed to have a million different overtaking spots? Is it okay for a track to have 2 or 3, and then the other corners are kind of just filler? The other not filler just to be filler, but filler to set the tempo of the track, make the track more fun to drive in time trial. Explore different decoration. They can achieve other things, or even make tandem battles being more fun when you're in tandem with someone, and making that more fun and giving you options for that. I'm not I think having 2 or 3 hard overtaking corners, and then other corners for tandem battles, or making it more fun to drive, I think that's fine. And that's might be a defense on keeping these, because I think these are fun, and like I said, they they're a part of the track, the identity of the track, and because these S's are pretty I think they definitely are identity of the track. Do they help with overtaking? God, no. They are terrible for overtaking. Even when in tandem, they aren't even good. Because if P1, if you're in tandem, if you're P2 and you're in tandem with P1, right, and they mow right here, you're gonna get boat lagged. You're probably not gonna make it past, unless you're ready ahead of time. And you went slightly around, so you got boat lagged a little bit, but you still got past. And even then, it's well, then depends on how they mow, etc. Right? So these corners are terrible, but like, I don't know. You have to start thinking about if every corner is meant to overtake or not, which I don't think. I think trying to make every corner an overtaking corner is probably not good, because I think there's some qualities about corners that make them better for overtaking, right? I think that's pretty easy to understand, right? For instance, if you have like I was talking about with difference in speed, if you have a super long straight and then like a corner versus like a little straight and then a corner, you have a lot less velocity by the time you reach the breaking point for this case, and then you miss the apex by a lot less if you're slow on the brakes, right? But if you're going super fast here, if you're off by 0.2 seconds, then you miss the apex by a lot more, right? Or just gimmicks, right? Gimmicks are also another way to get overtakes. Or no, sorry. I mean, they are, but that's not relevant to this. So for instance, one can make the statement that, oh yeah, high-speed corners with long straights to build up speed are better overtaking corners, right? Or, there's probably other characteristics to a corner that make it better or worse for overtaking, right? So hypothetically, there is like a set of ideal corners that are like the best for overtaking. So hypothetically, if you want a track with the most overtaking, you would just have only those corners. Your track could like, based on the characteristics I've stated right now, which is basically just high speed, your track would look like this. This is your track. That's your track, because it's high speed and high speed braking zone. They make a mistake, 22 seconds slow, and they do it again, and they do it again, and they do it again, right? And if you want to increase, so it's not just left turns, because people can get used to it. You can do like this, right? No, that's low speed. Now it's not all left turns. Wow, look at that. I made Baku. I haven't made Baku. It actually might look like Baku. I don't know. Like, do you want this? Do you want this as a track? No. So like, I don't think you're gonna want every corner to be an overtaking. Sure. Like, okay, this might work. So instead of like this, you can instead do like this, I guess, right? Or what? It's still the same thing. So there can I think it's okay to think that you can have corners like this that don't really do much, but hypothetically, this corner was really fun, or the side corners was really fun to drive, then that's cool. I don't know if it is. I'm not a time trialer. It's been a while, but I don't think it's unpleasant to drive. So, I should probably talk about the Blockstop in this corner, because I'm gonna forget about that. So I guess like through that lens, it's okay to keep this section. This section's kind of shit, but like we need to get from here to here, or I guess from here to here, and we also need to have a way to get the slime thing. So this works. Nothing's gonna happen on this corner, most likely. There's also the pit exit right here, which is interesting. We can talk about it later, maybe, if I remember, or whatever. We're already an hour, like 68 minutes in, so it's kind of long. I am procrastinating hard on all sorts of stuff. Let's go. But yeah, so I guess this would have to stay. We can maybe make it, instead of like being like right here, we can put like right here. So I don't know. But like, what does that do? What does moving the apex from here to here actually do? It lowers the lap time by like maybe 2 seconds, like 1 second here and 1 second here, so 2 seconds. Although you have less velocity this way, so you're gonna like, it's not gonna save as much, maybe like 1.75 or something like that. And it also changes how you take this line. I'd imagine that, I guess it changes the angle, right? Because now the angle goes from like here versus here to like here versus here, and that's a larger angle, right? I think I'm just bad drawing, maybe, I don't know. It does that, but otherwise I don't know. Also, I guess what this corner does well, by the way, like, you might look at this and you're like, what the hell? This is so empty. Why did you leave this empty? One of the reasons is because I am lazy and I didn't want to put anything there. But that's one reason. I actually did want to put something right here. I have a spot in the game in mind, it's like the fort in the first level of the game. Sure. But like, I wanted to put it right here. Why didn't I? Because what you can do is, if you're right here, you can look across and see people behind you. It's a 180. I think this is actually probably why I added this, if I remember correctly. It's a 180. Even with boat cam, you can still look behind you a little bit and see who's behind you. Additionally, if you have people over here, if you're driving, you can see them from right here. You can see them, right? So this is a visibility corner. It like, you know, you have the sidebar to help you see where people are relative to each other. But like, that's numbers. You don't have a good visual. Most people can't properly or easily visualize those numbers. What does 2.45 seconds look like on this track? How far is that? Is that this distance? Or is that like this distance? I don't know. So what this does right here is that allows you to see how far they are in space, not just time. It also kind of happens. Oh god. It also kind of happens right here, because now you can look, you can drive, and you see people right here. You look across. Additionally, you could be right here. You're driving, and you see people right here, right? So this track has a few corners that are good for visibility like that. Also, kind of like right here is a good corner for that, but we're cutting that out. Yeah. Also kind of like right here, but I think that's a lot less. Also kind of like right here, but I think that's also a lot less. I think this is like pretty good for it, and this is also pretty good for it. But yeah, so I guess, yeah, so like I was saying, this corner doesn't achieve anything overtaking wise. But, you know, like I was saying, a corner can do more than just be good for overtaking. Or it can do things other than be good for overtaking. It can make it more fun to drive. It can increase the depth of when you're in tandem, like what different options you have when you're in tandem. Because I think driving behind someone's ghost and driving in tandem with them are two different things. And different, like, corners might give more tools for people who are in tandem than people who are falling behind a ghost, right? So you can have corners that help with when you're in tandem but don't help with overtaking entirely, right? Sure. Or you can have a corner like this that helps you look behind and see, right? So that's something to keep in mind. We do have two of them back to back, so I'm not even sure if this is necessary as that, but I think it does its job pretty well if I remember correctly. Like, you can see pretty far. Yeah, so I guess this stays. I mean, if there's a way to make this route slower by changing the track, I mean, I don't know, it's something to look into. I think a lap time of like 1 minute flat is totally fine, because right now top time is like 59.8 or something like that, I think. So yeah, this gets removed because you block stop and does nothing, and you can't even look backwards that much. And is it even fun? I mean, it might be fun to do this block stop for time trialing, but like, I mean, it's kind of RNG based. It's typical. I don't know. It is kind of fun for time trialing, though, to be fair. But I think it kills racing a lot more, because like I showed the chart of like 7 losses, 2 wins on Blockstop. It kind of just kills racing, regardless of if you're in tandem or if you're behind a ghost, right? It kind of just kills things. So while it's more fun for time trialing, it might be it's so impactful for racing that it's probably not worth to keep in, right? So cool. Otherwise, this is chaotic. I've never used this functionality. You can cut this out. It's probably confusing. You can cut this out. It's confusing. Just go this way. Because there's levers, you know, like they put up this wall, so you, like this practice and this practice can come up a block, so that like you have to go around. Or, you know, there's these walls also have levers. Then if you push a lever, then you actually have to go around, so that buffs pawn skip. You know, or I mean, there's this wall as well, so you have to do like this, and then they can't go this way because there's a wall there. They can't do this because there's a wall there, so they have to go around, right? I've never used these. So you can just get rid of it. Otherwise, this corner doesn't really do much. I mean, it is right after pawn skip, so it's a little bit interesting in that regard. I think it's okay. Like I said, it's not going to really accomplish that much. Yeah, so I think what we just did is that we, oh my god, hold on. Oh, I'm doing this wrong. Okay. What we just did is that we on a lap-to-lap basis during a race, like during the middle of the race, or like even the end of the race. Basically everything except the start of the race, right? We've kind of gone over that. This is okay for during the race, like most of the race, but for race starts, we had to talk about that, right? We also haven't talked about pits yet. We haven't talked about, I guess, this pit versus this pit, and if they should both be open like Greece Arena. Man, there's a lot more to talk about. It's been an hour 15. That's crazy. I hope this has been like eye-opening isn't the right word, but like informative, educational. Because I'm explaining a lot, like, like this, or how boat racing works compared to real life, like with this corner example, and so on. Yeah, okay, so race starts. You start here. There's already no bump control, so I'd probably want to make this on diagonal so I have more capability of, if someone bumps, they go wide, I have an off-road route for them, and lower congestion at the very start of the race. And race starts is super chaotic in boat racing, and I think possibly part of that is because there's no bump control. People will just bump out, and then they block other people, and it's chain reaction. I think that's a pretty common trend in boat racing starts. So doing something about that is probably good. This straightaway, like I said, is thin. Probably make it wider, but then also have enough room. So we have to change the decoration because there's no way this is enough space to like make the road wider and also have an off route for bump control. So yeah. Then probably remove this block stop, right? There's a block stop here. I mean, it makes it faster. I'm not sure if it's fun block stop. I think it's probably not a fun block stop because it's annoying and block stops are precise and it's annoying, and for you to start doing a lap, you have to hit this block stop first thing. And it becomes you know, all right, I'm going. Oh, failed block stop. All right, reset. I'm going. 10 seconds go by. I failed block stop. All right, do it again. Right. So I think for time trialing's sake, it might not be good. For racing, I mean, if you're in tandem and you go for a block stop dive bomb, that could be cool. And is that enough to overpower or be more meaningful than the time trialing? Because there's a time trialing con, right? The con is that it's annoying for time trialing, but there's a possible pro for racing in that there's a dive bomb capability. At the end of the day, I'm making the track for racing. I'm not a godlike builder. I don't have control. I can't just like make things and they're perfectly good. And I don't have like. I'm not God. I can't just like do it. So I kind of have to sacrifice things. There probably exists a way for me to fix the time trial con, but also keep the pro of racing, which is the dive bomb block stop thing. And this is also, by the way, there's also probably other cons with racing, and like I don't know. There's also probably other cons. But setting those aside, there's probably a way to like fix everything. But I'm not God. I don't know how to do that. So like, to make track building easier, I kind of just say, I'm not going to think at all about time trialing. I mean, I might think about it like, not at all. But like, I'm going to heavily prioritize racing over time trialing, right? So like, if there's a con, right, and let's say the con is like 50 points, it's pretty heavy. Like that's pretty bad con. But for time trialing, it's like, it's multiplied by like 1/5, right? But if there's like a pro for racing that's 10, and it's like, it's for racing, then I'm gonna like multiply by like 10, and now it's like 100 versus like what, like that's like 10, right? So like now this value is a lot higher, right, in this make believe or whatever priority system. So I'm gonna keep the block stop or whatever, right? Like I'm not any like racing or time trialing pros are like much lower priority. I don't think about them as much. If there's something that's like huge, that's like, like 10,000, I can multiply it by 1/10, and that's still like a huge number. That's like 1,000, right? Then I'll fix it, and if it only changes racing a little bit, then sure, I'll change it. But like, This is not one of those scenarios, I think. Or is it? Huh. I mean, I guess I have to look more into if there's other cons about racing with this Blockstop. Like, I don't know. Can I, no, okay. I mean, with the con of time traveling I've mentioned and the pro of racing as I mentioned, with only these, if these were the only two things, I would keep it. Because I think it's a racing track, it's not a time traveling track, right? So I'm going to care a lot more about this dive bomb line, possible dive bomb line. Although, I think it's a lot harder to do it with this angle. You're probably going to want to go wide anyway, and at that point, it's not even enough for you to get the over. Oh, yes. I don't know. Depends on. I don't know. It's been a while. So, maybe. I don't know. I guess we'd save it. Otherwise, going back to race starts, yeah, like I said, make it wider. Make it, like, not that wide, but, like, you know, wider. Have runoff route. They're, like, bump control routes. Probably add bump control here somehow, but maybe making it more diagonal. Like I said, that does change the identity of the track, but like, oh well. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter if the road looks like this or if it looks like this. If the apex is in the same spot, then like it's this line that we care about, right? Like this, like the line between this apex and this apex, right? So we'd have to like push the apex like out here, so it's more diagonal. So that if they bump, then they go more this way, or you know whatever. And I added bump control. I think there's ways of doing it. I'm pretty sure there are. I think I've done it. Yeah, and then yeah, probably like make it wider over here because it's pretty thin. All things considered for race starts. And then yeah, like turn one's gonna be death. No matter how wide I make it, it's obviously gonna be death. Because I think most people are gonna go like towards the inside, so they're gonna die, and then etc. Assuming we have like good bump control, then it won't be as big of an issue. But like, there's always gonna be death, and there's always gonna be like. So the thing about race starts is, I guess it depends on the grid, but there's always going to be carnage at race starts, right? And it just comes down to how much carnage you want. Like, you're going to have to spread out the grid at some point. The grid is eventually going to go from super condensed to, like, very spread out across the track. And it's up to it's up to the track creator to determine how fast they want to go from condensed to spread out, right? And if you want them to spread out very quickly, you do Greasy Arena, which is like this, and there's like walls, and then you bump out and you go flying, which is an example of pretty good mistake control. Because if you hit the apex, that's you making a mistake, but it's not you bumping, and then you fly out wide. It'd be better if there were alternate routes that were like definitely like the thing about bump control and stuff and mistake control is that you never want the catch routes, like for instance like routes here that you bump you go into. You never want that to be faster, so of course you're gonna have to make it slower to even like drive into to get on into, right? Like you're not gonna, yeah. The cool thing about that though is that if you do it correctly, it actually becomes like an alternate route for starting, because now you don't have to deal with people like right here, which is interesting. It adds more depth. But anyways, yeah, Greasy Arena could be better for bump control, but I think it's or mistake control, but it's pretty okay. It's on the like it's taking the first step of being a diagonal with walls and throwing them, like yeeting them across track if they make a mistake. So that's cool. And I guess in the 1v1 environment, right, if you're on that track, if you're like right behind them and they bump wide, disregarding the fact that they might be in place, or you might catch up to them because you have higher sum of the velocity or whatever, and like, you know, you catch up to them and bump them. If you're far enough away, right, then you actually just get the overtake thingy. Just looking only at these two drivers, right? Because then hypothetically there's no drivers behind them, and if it's a two-person race, we don't care about how they re-enter. We don't care about how P1 re-enters after making the mistake of flying wide, because they aren't going to block anyone. They're not going to cause congestion, right? So we don't need that alternate route like I was talking about. Unless it was, I mean, if the alternate route was made it less punishing, so instead of hitting the wall and flying wide, instead of like losing like 5 seconds, you lost like 3 seconds, 2 seconds. Aside from that, you don't need an alternate route. But I think, to be honest, yeah, an alternate route does help control how much time you lose. So yeah, I guess in that case, even then, yeah, alternate routes are probably good. Runoff control routes. Yeah, you know what? Control routes work. Yeah, control routes. That works. Anyways, yeah. So race starts. Make this wider. Probably make this wider. Maybe make the apex over from like here to here. Like so, like the apex is over here instead. You have to change the decoration, which is annoying. So that you have more potential for bump control and mistake control, or really just bump control, unless we add the apex. But even then, you're gonna add this apex. No matter where this apex is, you're gonna go from like this way to this way. So you're gonna want zero velocity this way. So it doesn't actually matter if you add a wall here. So you're gonna get stopped. So yeah, probably no bump control, or probably no mistake control. Aside from mowing, mistake control. Sorry if I'm boring you. Imagine we have this, right? And there's no wall here, right? So you have zero velocity this way because you're going from this to this. So right here, your arrow looks like that. Oh, this is... what the... Your arrow looks like this, right? Because you're going... you're going from this to this. You're going from this to this. So right here, your arrow looks like this. Right, you're going just downwards. You don't have any velocity in this direction, right? So in this scenario, if there's a wall right here and you bump it, you have no velocity in this or this. So you're just gonna sit here, and you're gonna block people, right? Okay, so in this case, we don't want a wall right here because if they did that and they bumped or they made a mistake and hit the wall, they're just gonna cause chaos right here. Unless you want chaos, in which case you can keep it. But we're just gonna assume that you don't want chaos. What you could do is, well, this sucks because actually it's just faster to drive through. Not faster as in you want to do, but like if you find yourself in like on these two blocks, you're just gonna keep driving straight. But hypothetically, if that wasn't the case, if you drove into here, you mowed, right? You mowed right here, and it wasn't faster to just drive back on the track. You can have ice right here that eventually goes back on the track. So you mow, it's not faster to go this way, just hypothetically, right? Then they drive this way, right? And that's how they get back on the track. Also, what you can do, in addition to this, you're going to also want to make it in a way that people driving the route normally can see that they're entering back on track well ahead of time and have time to react. Because if you just throw them right back on track, right on the racing line, someone's going to drive into them, and that's just going to cause chaos, which is what we're trying to avoid, right? So you're going to want to have a way that they can get back on the track and have people react. Thankfully, this isn't that big. If you're sitting right here, you can probably see them from over here. But yeah, I'm not sure how you would ideally do this, but yeah, it's possible. Right? I hope you understand what this form of mistake control would look like. Yeah, so add some bump control, mistake control. At this point, like I was saying with how chaotic or how quickly you want to spread out the field, they're going to get spread out a good amount here, even with the control routes. There's probably also going to be bumping here, and this actually is probably pretty bad for race starts. This is only one line, so it's going to be super condensed. We've only gone through one corner, and even if it is a corner that's going to spread out the field a good amount, it's still not spread out completely, and there's going to be a good amount of density here, so there's going to be bumping here, and that's, I guess, not ideal. In this case, you actually probably want to have first lap pit open, or lap one pit, because then that does spread out the field for you. It does make something to consider is that it makes lap one pits just inherently stronger than doing a pit in any other lap on paper, unless it's an impossible to pass Walta even without pawn skip somehow. He nails pawn skip, but is terrible everywhere else and is losing you 10 seconds of lap. In which case, it's probably more powerful to pit to get away from that Walta than it is to pit on lap one. But that's that's not likely, right? So it does make this lap one a lot more powerful. And I guess it depends on the event organizers if they want it to be that powerful or if they want it to not be. I don't know. In this case, you have to, if you don't pit, you have to get through this corner and this corner. And then this corner is okay-ish because you can go wide here and not die. But you have to get through these corners. And if these corners are kind of bad because it's one line. There's one line, right? And I mean, the line to go pit starts like right here, right? So you don't only have to deal with them right here, you have to deal with them right here, you have to deal with them right here, you have to deal with them right here, right? So I don't know. There's a pretty good reason to pit that one on this track because you don't have to deal with this entire thing. Assuming that we disavow that one pit, because to be honest, it's fair. Like it makes it really powerful, right? How do you fix this? I mean, bump control and mistake control help for sure, but they aren't just going to magically solve the problem. It's not like this is like bump control and mistake control are revolutionary concepts are going to change how boat racing works or whatever. Like, it's not on the level of, I guess, boat cam. Boat cam, oh, that isn't super revolutionary either, but like it's very noteworthy. I think it's a step below that. It's something that we should really start speccing into because it's just, or thinking about. You don't even have to do it, just thinking about it and deciding if you want it on your track or not, and what kind of race you want to be held on the track. Yeah, it's not like it's gonna say like solve world peace, right? It's not gonna just like make overtaking like super odd. Like, I guess one plus side about it is hypothetically if you add bump control or mistake control in a way that you lose less time, which is, to be fair, most likely. Like if you bump and there's no route here, it takes like 5 seconds to turn around. But if you bump and there is a route here, you only lose like 3 seconds total, right? That technically means that it changes the risk reward of doing this dive bomb. So now, like, instead of losing 5 seconds if you mess it up, you lose 3 seconds, and that does change the risk reward, and it might incentivize more risky plays. Okay. Aside from that, it does not sell world peace. So we're still gonna have this problem right here because it's like, sure, we can assume like half the grid bumping out. They're eventually gonna join back on track, and they might bump out like here, and they join back on track like here or something, right? And then like that does not solve the issue of this, right? And I don't think I have a good solution. I've been thinking the whole time, I don't really have a good solution. I think just making it wider, add some anti-tuning so that, I guess anti-tuning would go really far. I could talk about anti-tuning and my issues with it later, or in a few minutes, but, like, anti-tuning is essentially, for those who don't know, it's nerfing the fastest line. So the fastest line is like this, right? If this is the fastest line, hypothetically, I'm not good, so I'm pretty sure this is, you might actually want to hold more insight. Anyway, let's say hypothetically this is the fastest line. Instead of blue ice all along this line, you put packed ice, right? So now it's slower. So now the fastest line, or now it's like, you can deviate from the fastest line and not lose as much time because the fastest line is slower than it could be. And if you put like blue ice, like everywhere that isn't the fastest line, well, now you can use blue ice to have higher speed, so you lose less time. That's anti-tuning. Of course, you don't want to put blue ice on a braking zone because you actually brake faster in packed ice. So you'd want blue ice on a hard braking zone. If you wanted to anti-tune a hard braking zone, you'd put blue ice on the fastest line and packed ice on the slowest line, right? Okay, so anti-tuning would help. I'm going to talk about anti-tuning yet, like I said, in a few minutes, and my gripes with it. But it would help because now the fastest line, or it's not like it's not as over-centralizing. It's not like everyone has to follow this line. You can go wide, and you won't lose as much time. Problem is, these are S's, so it's not like you have one giant turn, right? Oh, that's the limit? Oh, dang. You don't have one giant turn, and you can't just stay on the outside line the whole time. You're eventually going to have to cross over, right? So you're actually, like, you could have higher speed for this section, but now it doesn't matter as much because now you're, like, crossing over, and now you're going super wide here, and yeah. So anti-tuning would help a little bit, but wouldn't solve problem. Like, we could do a lot. Like, I guess if you have anti-tuning and you have bump and mistake control, that might help enough for it to not be complete cancer to drive at the race start. Because I think as is right now, this race start is terrible. I don't think this is a good race start. The proposed changes would help a little bit, enough to maybe not make it the worst thing of all time, but it's not going to make it very good. But I think we just have to hold the L, or, I mean, a solution to this would be remove this whole section and replace it with something else that isn't as bad. But like I said, if you want to keep the identity of the track, which I think, sure, then we keep it, or at least this concept of S's, back-to-back S's, right? We can push the apex like out to here or whatever. But yeah. So yeah, bump control, mistake control, and anti-tuning. Let's talk about anti-tuning. So anti-tuning, like I said, it nerfs the passive line. And by concept, like, I mean, like, people have their gripes with, like, why are you making the passive line slower? And, I mean, I don't have a good reason for that on, like, why, if that complaint is justified, or I don't have, like, I don't know. But my problem with it is that, like, it doesn't solve much. So, like I said, how do you overtake in boat racing, right? You overtake if this guy makes a mistake, or, you know, if they lose a significant amount of time. And how do they lose a significant amount of time? They either make a mistake, like they hit a wall and they go flying, or they mow it on the inside of the corner or whatever, or they get bumped, or you gain a lot of time, or you make them lose a lot of time by using a gimmick, right? That's how they lose, or that's how you overtake, or even honestly, maybe just get past their ghosts. Like, I think that's how you get into tandem. I think the same things apply, because to get into tandem, you have to get past. You have to go this far, this distance, this whole distance. Not to mention the distance here, which you have to have, depending on if this guy is vagging a lot or not, and how much you want to risk it. Because if they suddenly stutter, like I said earlier, like way earlier, they suddenly stutter, you bump out and die. You bump into the ghost and die, right? So this distance is probably gonna be larger. You have to travel this entire distance, and with this being larger, just to get into tandem, right? It's not like a little microscopic amount. It's a pretty freaking far distance, right? So they're gonna have to lose a lot of time for you to get into tandem, even not even just to overtake in general, just to get into tandem, right? The thing is, anti-tuning doesn't just make them lose that amount of time. So let's say we anti-tune this corner, right? So the inside, I'm pretty sure the passive line is just tugging the inside, right? So this is the passive line, sure, right? That's the passive line. Let's put pack test here, and let's put checkerboard right here, and let's put Velocities right here, and let's just say that all three lines are exactly the same. Okay, so now what do we have? We have, hypothetically, let's say three different lines: pack dice, checkerboard, and Velocities. Okay, so what do we got? So if you take checkerboard, right, or let's say take pack dice. What are you risking if you take pack dice? Well, so you're not risking, like, you're not, it's not faster, right? So, okay, so there's no pro to taking the inside. Okay, so then what happens? So now, okay, so if I go too far inside, oh, I'm scraping the off-road, and now I'm losing a bunch of time. So the pro of taking the pack dice inside is, okay, there is none. The cons are, if I mess up, I lose time, like a good amount of time. Now let's look at checkerboard. What are the pros to this? There are no pros. What are the cons to this? If I go what happens if you go too far inside? Now you're using the pack dice, and you don't lose that much. Like, hypothetically, like, I think for most corner, like, I think at a base level, if we had this corner, but that wasn't super wide, and we had this corner, and you went a little bit inside, you're not going to lose that much time. You're not losing seconds. You're not losing half a second. You're losing like a tenth. Oh no, I went a little bit too much. I've used a tenth, right? Okay, so going over checkerboard. Pros of doing this, nothing. Cons of doing this, not nearly as bad as this. Because the con of going inside here is you lose like seconds. The con of going inside here, or like, you know, going too far inside or making a mistake here, is that you lose 0.1 seconds. That's like nothing. Same thing with blue ice. There's nothing here that's gonna make them lose a lot of time. There's no inside off-road. There's no whatever, right? So now it's like, okay, the pros, there are no pros. The cons, there are no cons. Or the con is negligible. 0.1 seconds lost. Okay, so now what? Now we have three different lines. they're all the same speed if taken correctly, and let's say that they're all, let's say that the difficulty is the same. Now you have one line that's just worse, and two lines that are the same. And if they make a mistake, they lose 0.1 seconds. And to get past a person, you need a lot more than 0.1 seconds. This is a lot more than 0.1 seconds. Because this is huge. That's not huge. It doesn't have to be huge, I guess, but it's significant. This by itself is larger than 0.1 seconds. You're not following behind them by 0.1 seconds. Or like, I guess it depends on the speed of the corner. I guess if you're going really fast, it might be. But like, it's just, okay, and then if this is 0.1 seconds, then what's this? What is this? That's like half a second at least, right? Hell, I would probably say like 0.8, maybe. I don't know. I just threw that number out. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 0.8, right? In most cases, or a lot of cases, right? And what do you get for utilizing this anti-tuning? You get 0.1, maybe 0.2, 0.3 if they mess it up like a bunch. You're not going to get this. That's not going to happen. Like, the problem is, with how we're anti-tuning right now, there is no difficulty. If you go inside, there's no difficulty. You're not going to lose jack shit, and that's not going to cause anything. It's a different thing for in tandem. If you're in tandem, maybe 0.1 might matter if P1 is here and P2 is like literally right on them. In that case, maybe it helps. But otherwise, if you're trying to overtake someone or even get into tandem with them, this does nothing, right? And with higher speeds, sure, like the 0.1 gap might be different. Like I said, like the 0.1 gap here, but like it doesn't cause anything. There's no difficulty. Like, and another thing, generally, packed ice, setting aside that people might be getting used to blue ice, setting aside that, packed ice makes tracks easier. There's lower speed, you have more control of the boat. So, like I said, lower speed means you don't have to be as precise to get as close to the apex, right? And more control means that you get to control the boat more, hence lower difficulty. So what you're doing is making the track easier, so you're making mistakes even less possible to happen, and you're not gaining anything from it, because now they're just going to take checkerboard and blue ice line and never have to deal with the inside, right? And then, okay, so now what happens? Let's say, all right, I'm gonna make packed ice 0.1 seconds faster than the blue ice and checkerboard. Well then, I mean, like, okay, cool, dude, but it's not like you just, because from what I understand, the goal of anti-tuning, or at least some people's goal for anti-tuning, is making every line the exact same. Well, now you're not doing that, because now the inside's faster, and now it's like you can't just, like, if you had a track that was completely anti-tuned all the way around, you can't just take the checkerboard line and just be in tandem with them the whole time. So like, that's my problem with anti-tuning. It's like it makes it easier to drive around the track. It causes less accidents, less mistakes, and for what, right? That's my problem with it. So in this case, a pro of anti-tuning is for race starts, because now, setting aside the packed, like, you can have, like, there are different gradients of ice. It's not just checkerboard, packed, and blue, right? You can have different gradients. Hypothetically, let's say that we have 5 gradients at our disposal, and let's say that one of them is on the inside, or one of them has to be on the inside. So let's say, okay, sure, if we're going to even take into account that the risk reward is different for this inside line, now there's 4 different lines we can take. That's 4 different, like, instead of only making use of this, like this line, let's say there's no answer thing, now they might even go like this, right? I mean, setting aside those S's, right? Let's say this is term 1, right? Now we have 4 different lines that they can take. That was terribly done, right? So now it's going to be a lot more spread out, and that's going to lower the congestion on the apex, right? Cool. But then, hypothetically, let's say that we do this in a way that nothing happens. No one ever bumps on this turn 1, right? Well, now we're just in the same situation as the start of the race, because now the congestion is the same, right? Which is why we want to think about how quickly we want people to die, right? How quickly we want to decrease congestion. And I guess that depends on what kind of track you want to make. If you want to make a chaotic track, fucking do what they did in Pompeii and put like a half loop thing, like the half loop thing where you gotta go around and do what they do here and cause chaos right here, and everyone dies. Go for it. If you want it to be very calm, add a bunch of these corners that have like anti-tuning and are wide, so you have more space for like good anti-tuning. And then they'll slowly die. Someone's gonna make a stupid mistake. They're gonna bump. They might make another person bump by doing so. If you have enough of these, we're probably gonna. Well, eventually you'll run out of people dumb enough to make stupid moves on a turn this easy. But regardless, like you're gonna slowly thin out the field, right? I love how I talked about that, but I can't even apply that to this. I mean, I could, make this wider to have more room for anti-tuning. Anti-tune it so they have more lines to take. But the thing is, it's S's, so it's not going to do that much, but you can still try, and it'll help a little bit, right? And if you add bump control and mistake control, that'll also help. Like I said, this is not going to be like godlike race start. By the nature of S's, I don't think S's are ever going to really cause godlike race start. Well, I guess we haven't defined a godlike race start. A godlike race start to me is one. I mean, so when you look at boat racing, a lot depends on the start. You can lose a race within the first 5 seconds of the race because you just bump out and you lose 10 seconds because you bumped into the worst way known to man, and then you are now in that space. You could have started in P3, but then you bump in behind P2 or P1 and you fly and lose 10 seconds, and in those 10 seconds, everyone passes you, right? Or you rejoin after 10 seconds, you're in the midfield, and then you get bumped out again and lose another 5 seconds, and now you're in the back, right? Or like so I guess I don't think I like that, right? And I guess this comes down to the track builder and what kind of races they want and what they believe are good race starts. If they think that losing it all in the first 5 seconds of the race is good, go for it. Make your track be okay for that. But like, I don't think that that's good. So I'm not going to want that. So I'm going to add bump control and mistake control, like these lines here and, the different strategies to try to prevent that. Anyways, what the hell was I talking about? I'm pausing. Hold on. Right, okay. So I've now defined that I don't want them to die and lose 10 seconds right off the bat, right? Okay, cool. So how are we going to do that? We're going to add bump control and mistake control, right? And we're going to make it wider, and we're going to add anti-tuning. That's not going to make it completely serene. Like, you start in P3, you always end the first step in P3, or you always are P3 by here or whatever, right? It's not going to always cause that. But, like, it's not like that godlike start, right? But, like, it's a lot closer than it would be right now, right? Like, right now, if you start in P3, there's no guarantee. Look at Evil. Look at Evil in OS2. No, I mean, Evil lagged, so, yeah. But, didn't I fall? I might have. No, I think I ended up in P5. I think I started like P3 and ended up in P5. That's not bad, if I remember correctly. Anyways, at this point, I might just be done. I might be like, okay, I'm done. I've added the controls. I'm just gonna leave it be because I want to make other tracks at this point, right? Like, I'm getting impatient. I want to make other tracks. So, like, if I were actually improving Boingburg, I might just give up at this. Like, not give up, but like just call it good, and it's like, do these, add bump mistake control and make it wider and stuff, and redo decorations. Because I have to redo decorations now because I'm changing everything. Not everything, but like I'm changing a lot. So now I have to redo decorations, and that's a lot of time. And at that point, I'm probably just done. But we aren't doing that. We're only brainstorming. So would I do anything else? I can't think of anything else. If I think of anything else, I'll write a comment in the comment section or add the description, or I'll come back to it later if I remember, or if I think about it during this video. Anyways. Okay. So I think at this point, they're probably going to be spread out. Like, it's still going to be dense, because of course it's going to be, but, yeah. It's going to be a lot more spread out, I think, at this point. And then that one gimmick starts being a thing, and that's just chaos. I think if you're driving on this track, you're just assuming that someone's going to throw it. I think you're just going to assume that someone's going to throw it. So I think you always go wide, and it's so thin. That's the thing. Like, this is so thin right here, this distance, that like you don't lose much by going wide. You're gonna bump someone and end up like right here, or if you don't bump someone, you end up like right here, and then like it's not like the outside's like over here, and then like if no one sets up the wall, then like you don't have to like go all this distance. You only have to go like this distance, right? So it's not that bad. But yeah, this is pretty thin. Honestly, I'd maybe make this wider, not because of what I just said about them losing more time by going wide, but just to allow more people to go through on that one. Because like it's pretty thin, and this is also pretty thin. Although I guess I don't know what I'm gonna do like over here because I'm cutting out this entire part. So I don't know if I need this to be like wider, or if this is even gonna be the straightaway this way, or if it's gonna be like, I guess no, this is part of the gimmick because this determines how you take this block stop and how you take this wall tap. Because if it was straightaway this way, then the wall tap would be more powerful than the block stop, because now if you block stop, you don't have any velocity this way, but if you do a wall tap, you get to keep velocity this way. You get to go like this, right? So you have some velocity by the time you hit the wall tap. If you block stop, you don't really have any, right? So that does affect the gimmick. Like this straightaway, the orientation and the length and the width, all the characteristics do affect this gimmick right here. So I guess if I didn't want to have to go through the thinking, I would just keep it the same. Which honestly, if I'm fishing Boingburg and I'm actually fishing blocks and stuff, I'm not gonna want to have to spend the time thinking about this. So I'm just gonna keep it the same and call it good. And I'm thinking about just doing that here, because I don't even know what I'm doing over here. So I don't even know how I'm gonna want to choose it. I think. Well, the question then becomes: do I want to do this? So I want to change the gimmick by doing this, and I don't think there's a good reason to do so, so I'm just going to say no. It's like, okay, hypothetically, if, that buffs the wall, and I've noticed in previous races that the wall is very bad, or whatever, then I'd be like, okay, yeah, sure, because I know that the wall is bad, and I want to buff it. But I don't. I think the wall is fine. I think the wall is pretty good. I think the Blockstop is not, because I'm bad, so maybe it's just me being bad at boat racing, but like I'm not consistent at the Blockstop. I'm not sure if everyone else is. Despite my best efforts as a track reader and adding the snow and stuff and trying to make it perfect, I'm still bad at it. So, yeah. Regardless, I think this is fine. Sure, whatever. Let me cut out this. I'm not gonna even talk about this. Like I said, just fucking Baku it. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I'd probably just figure out some way, because at this point we don't even have to care about that one. I mean, that one, there's still going to be a higher density than the rest of the race for sure by this point. Even after this gimmick, there's still going to be more condensed than like that 10 of the race. But I mean, I guess I would remake this section around that. But yeah, and then this obviously add bump control along here. I'm not sure where I would make them re-enter. That's actually kind of hard, because if they bump wide, where do they re-enter? If they enter right here, then they block right here. They re-enter right here. They still block the main route. So then it's like, well, what the heck? If they what if they do this? And it's like, well, what the fuck? So this would be a little bit hard to figure out. Make them drop down a hole and then go to the other side, and then emerge right here. I don't know, maybe that's it's an option. I wouldn't like it, but because it uses water elevator. But hey, we have one right here, so whatever. And then I don't know. This corner doesn't really do much. You can just add some anti-tuning and call it a day, I guess. I don't know. It's not doing much anyways. It does have the characteristic that's right after bond skip, so you can end up in tandem with someone right here and be very unexpected. And then it's a reaction game where you have to react to someone to getting in tandem, choose quickly on what you're gonna do. So I guess in that case, I mean, I don't know. If you add anti-tuning, it's not like it's gonna actually suddenly cause you. Like if you're P2 and they're P1, you're very far behind P1, and they don't do it and you do it, and you end up like in tandem with them right here. It's not like anti-tuning is going to help you overtake them in the heat of the moment, right? Because like I said, it's a reaction test. It's like both of you have to react. Okay, P2 made it. P1 has to act accordingly, and P2 has to act accordingly, right? Quickly, in like a brief moment of a second, like a fraction of a second or whatever, you have to react and decide what you don't want to do. Cool. Does anti-tuning help with that? No, anti-tuning does not do anything because it doesn't make it hard. I mean, I guess you can then decide, do I take inside or whatever. But I mean, if they're all the same, then I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think anything that really helps develop that, and I'm not sure what would. Yeah, what would be interesting with this? Because then, I mean, it also then comes down to, do we want this to be a reaction game? Do we want you to have to react? And this is a track creator preference, right? Like that's, if you want this to, if you want chaotic restart, you can make the track have chaotic restart. In the same way, if you want this to be a reaction test, we can make it a reaction test, or we can make it not a reaction test. I think adding a smooth, slow corner like this helps it not really be as much a reaction test. You can just get into tandem and be like, okay, I'm here now, and then start mentally preparing for turn 1. Or planning out turn 1 if we get a pit or whatever. So I guess in that case, I mean, there are advantages to keeping it like this. I mean, you can add anti-tuning at that point. It doesn't really matter. Because, I mean, while anti-tuning doesn't help, it doesn't hurt either. In this specific case, where, like, it's a reaction test thing. Or reaction game. Otherwise, I mean, it's not like you're going to overtake with this corner structure anyways. Like, no matter what the tuning, like, you're probably not going to get overtakes on this corner. What the heck? So yeah, if you want overtakes and change the corner structure, I think we have enough. I think we have 2 gimmicks and a turn 1 that can maybe do something, and I think that's okay. And maybe even something that happens here. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. But I think we're okay on overtaking. Like, when I drive on this track, it's not like other tracks where I'm just like doing races on this track, even without like these modifications I am showing. Like, I feel like I can do a lot. I'm constantly thinking about, like, for this half of the track, I'm thinking about, okay, do I do slime ball? And then I execute slime ball. And for this half of the track, I'm thinking about, do I do pawn skip? And then I execute pawn skip. And I also have to find time to check the sidebar, try to calculate pits and stuff. I have a lot to do, and I have a lot of opportunities to make things happen. Pawn skip, I can do this, right? So I don't think there's a shortage of things I can do. So I don't think we need another tool to help make things happen right here. So I think this is probably okay. Like, it's not, of course, like, if the goal was make every corner an overtake corner, then this would have to go, obviously. But, like, I don't think that's really necessary. Because we also have to think about what happens if you fail and where do you exit from, right? Because then if you change this corner structure to, like, this or something, then this has to, like, exit over here or something, or if you exit and then get on the line and etc. And I think this is okay. Although I guess we should consider if this is a good entry point. I mean, the fastest line is going to be, like, the fastest line, I don't know where you start from here. I think this is like this, and then like this, right? And then if you fall in the water, you have this much distance for this guy to react to you, right? And if you pawn skip, yeah, you still have the same amount of distance, right? Like, this is the distance that you have to react. And I think if you're starting from 0 velocity, I think that's a good amount of time. It's maybe not like, I mean, is it enough time? Like, it's not an unreactable amount of time. You can see someone coming out and, like, react to them, but I guess then that leaves 2 questions. 1, is it enough time to allow you to adjust? And 2, can you even adjust? Because, like, you're kind of on the fastest line, and, like, what do you even do to avoid someone? Like, if they're going this way, what do you even do to avoid them? You just, like, you have to predict that they're not going to be right here in this instant. And that's hard. That's hard to calculate, I think. I mean, unless it's super obvious. Like, if it's not obvious, then it's like, well, they can either be, if it's not obvious, they can either be, like right here or right here in 0.2 seconds. And if it's not obvious, then you have to respect both cases. And if you're right here, what the hell do? Do you go this way and you get bumped by them right there? And if you go this way, you get bumped by them right there. And you have to go outside, and you have enough time in this amount of time to realize this. I don't know. This requires me to drive on the track. Let's drive on the track. Okay. Finally, we're back in Minecraft. Okay, let's see what happened. Okay. Where? Ball ring. Okay. Let's see here. Let's go right here. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of time. You're not going that fast. I think it's actually fine. Let's see here. See now. It still does have the problem of like, are they going to be right here or right here? And you have to react, and you can't really react, so you have to go wide. But like, at the very least, you can react. It's not like there's like, you know, it's not like a track where like you fall into a reset region and you just respawn right in the middle of the track, and like, you know, they spawn right in front of you. It's not like that. It's not like they just like exit right in front of you and you have no time to react. You can react. It's just you have enough time to do anything, and I'm not sure. Let's see here. React now. I mean, like that. I can see what I just did happening, right? So let's say I'm driving and I see them come out now. I know that they're probably not going to be like in this range by the time I get there. So the safe way to be would go around, right? And I get to antituning what affects this, because if there's like 5 different routes here and they're all as fast, then like you're not going to want to be in here because you're trapping yourself, and going out here is probably better because you get more time to react. Yeah, because like I said, like I just showed, you're going to want to be like, this would avoid dying right here. Although I guess then once this help avoid dying right here, depending on timing. Huh. I mean, I guess what you could do is you can just do an option select. You can have start right here, and let's say if you don't see anyone by right here, go inside, because then if someone comes out and starts driving, let's say that you're a calculator and you know that at this point, even if I have standard human reaction time, and if I'm not lagging, and I see them come out right here, I know that I will always reach here before they do, and I'm fine, right? And if you know that at this point, and you know this, and you're at this point and you don't see anyone, it's safe to go inside, because you know that it's nearly impossible for someone to come out and get in front of you at that point. So I guess it just comes, you have to find a point where you can react to everything, and then make the decision right then and there. You also have to account for reaction time. You have to account for calculation time, deciding how long it takes you to decide go inside or outside. And then let's say that most laps you're facing this way at this point, but then for some reason you're facing this way because you took a weird line, and then you have to account for, hey, now it takes like this long to turn around, and is that enough time to get in the way, and what's my velocity like, right? So like that goes beyond calculator. I think that just goes to like if you're good at calculating as a human. I think this comes down to like not gut instinct, but like, you know, whatever goes on in our brains. Yeah, I think finding a point and reacting accordingly is probably best to catch in most cases, right? Like, let's say like by right here, you know, if there's no one there, you know, you hug me inside, it's like it's guaranteed or whatever. But if there is someone there or exiting, then you go wide, just then they're never going to be over here. But then there's always going to be the case of like right in the middle, where it's like they exited at exactly the right moment, where it's like if I go inside I might get bumped, if I go outside I might get bumped, right? I don't know. I'm omega overthinking. I'm not overthinking this, but I'm thinking into this a lot. Then I guess the question becomes, is there a good point where you can decide this, right? Because if the point was like a super unfair, unreactable spot, then that would be unfavorable. But if you could react, it comes down to how long you want them to be able to take to react and choose and execute. If you have a fictional track that takes 20 years, at this point, right? I hope you understand what I'm talking about at this point. If you have a magical unicorn rainbow track, totally mythical, and this point was 20 years away from over here, you can go to school, get a PhD, spend all that time deciding if you want to go inside or outside, and then after 20 years decide. And do you want it to be that long? Do you want it to be 5 seconds? 5 seconds is a lot less unicorn mythical but like it's a lot more possible. In this case, it's not really possible because it's so not far. And then you also have to think about render distance and how that would work. But anyway, like, let's say Like just you have to drive this, right? And now suddenly, like, because of this, you have like 5 seconds, right? I can't, right? Like, oh wow, okay, I see they're like on the river. Okay, so now do I go outside or inside? Okay, I'm gonna go inside, right? Like, if you had 5 seconds, would that be good? What is that golden number of time? Is there a golden number of time? I was not thinking. Hold on. This is fun. I think the point is like around here. Actually, I wasn't really paying attention. Let me try again. And this is without taking bond skip into consideration, by the way. I think it's like around like right here. And how much time is that? Like, I mean, react. I think that's fine. I think that's fine. I think it's reasonable. Like, if this requires you, by the way, to know about the point before the race and determining what a good point is, and like drilling it into your brain that if you see someone exiting when you're here, to go wide. It makes you have to do that beforehand. Like, I don't think that people are just gonna be able to like hop on the BRWC and just drive and then hit this point and see someone and think about all of this and then decide to go outside within like 0.3 seconds. Like, I don't think that's gonna happen. So I think to take advantage of this, all of what I've been saying so far, you have to think about this beforehand, I think. And are people gonna do that? Probably not. So that kind of runs the entirety of the purposes. Because like I said, if you use this in off season, it'd be different, right? I would adjust the entire track differently. Maybe not the entire track, but I'd make different changes. I'm sure actually most of them would be the same, but I might, adjust this timing or whatever, which I haven't even talked about, but it's not, whatever. Right? And in that case, it would be important to think about this, because we might have people try hard enough to realize this and, train themselves to think this way. But for BWC, that's not going to happen. And we stated at the start-ish of this video that we're only going to think about BWC, because I don't see this getting used anywhere else. So, or I guess it could be used in like Oink Oink, which is a similar setting, albeit I guess less or more casual, supposedly. Yeah, I'd say so. More casual than BWC. In which case, then there's even less incentive to like look at this ahead of time, right? So, anyways, I think that's my cue to stop. I think from what I just said, there's no reason for me to go this far in depth right here, because no one's gonna do it. So whatever. And then I guess just make the corner wider, help with lap 1, add some anti-tuning, because why not? I guess. It also help with this decision, which I guess doesn't matter, but yeah. Cool. All right, that was lap 1. Or I guess lap 1 plus whatever lap right here, because this doesn't depend on lap 1 or not. Well, I mean, how about this corner for lap 1? Oh god. It's okay for that one. It's whatever. Okay, cool. So we've done lap to lap. It's been 2 hours. We've done lap to lap basis. Okay, so we've gone over what the track is. We've gone over what we expect the track to be used for and what we're going to adjust the track for. Let me AFK. Cool. And then we went over what lap to lap, like everything except the race start's going to look like. We've gone over the race start and how we adjust the track to match that. Because we haven't gone back to after the race, like the main race, except for the race start, with these new changes in mind. But whatever, I don't think that's like ready. Like I think it's pretty understandable. We haven't talked about specifics of the track, right? And these are like, this is a lot less technical and a lot, like for instance, what happens when you finish the race? When you're on the last lap and you're going around, like, okay, cool. So you're going around, you hit pond skip, you're Chad, you go around, Now what? You hit right here, now what? Assuming there's no TP out, which, I mean, I guess we can even talk about where you TP out to. If you just keep going, now you're like dangerously close to the track, and if there's someone on the map behind, you might block them. Fun. So now we should add a section like right here for if you finish, you can just go over here and get out of the way and make it easy enough for people to subconsciously do, right? They're just going to drive straight and be like, okay, I'm done, yay, and then they celebrate over here, and they don't even realize they've fallen into my trap card, and they are out of the way, and yeah. But I think we're going to start using TP outs more, so where do you TP them out to? We aren't using this pit lane. This pit lane doesn't sound bad. Where's the podium? This track doesn't have a podium. Podium was like right here or something, I think, but yeah, no, it's gone. I guess I would probably put the podium like right here or right here, so yeah, probably like just like, right, especially if this pit remains blocked off, podium. You can also maybe have like a fence here that you can't like jump through or above, like to prevent them, not prevent, but to like make it harder for them to just like get back on track. Right, if you wanted to prevent them, put them in a barrier block box or whatever, or TP them like other side of the server, like 3 billion blocks this way or whatever, right? They aren't getting back. If TC's froze, they're not getting back on track. But I think that's a bit much, right? I think just TPing them here, having some measures to prevent them from getting back on track, that's totally fine. And if they don't use TP, I guess we want to cover both scenarios. I don't know if BWC is using TP outs yet, so in this case, we'd have the things I just mentioned where you have like a fence to incentivize them from going across. You have the podium right here, TP them right here. If there's no TP, also have this trap guard thing. This doesn't even have to be ice. I mean, it could be like partial ice, I guess. Well, no, if you add ice, then they're going to think that it's a route, but it's not. So I guess just make it not, and just like, yeah. Okay, so that's one thing. We haven't even talked about the pit. The pit is not very favorable because it's ping dependent. If you look at OS2's Soda Soaker and Blue Leader incidents with this, Blue Leader like flew into like up here, and the Soda Soaker just disconnected. So like this track shouldn't be used for a competitive environment because of this, because of the ping advantage from here, because it's chaotic, and I mean also because it's bad in the shape the state is in right now. Hypothetically, we make all these changes, it's better. So like it's better for racing, so it's not as bad to use for competitive. But like this issue still remains, the pawn skip issue still remains. It becomes: do we want to keep this in the name of competitive integrity? Not integrity, maybe integrity. My answer is no, bro. My answer is yes. I want to keep this shit. This is hilarious. This is awesome. Like this is so cool. No other track does this. This is cool. I mean, my real answer would be like, for BWC, keep it. It's not like that high stakes. Like, despite what Julian wants, not many people take it Omega seriously, especially in the EGA right now. I think a lot of us kind of just like showing up and just doing whatever and being okay, cool, fun, yeah, okay, bye. Compared to like, I've heard that the IBR is very competitive. So, but for the EGA, we're like I said, we're making this track for the EGA or adjusting the track for the EGA. Keep it, bro, whatever. It's part of the track. Like, removing this would be like huge loss to identity. We've already also added this route right here in case it doesn't fire initially, but it doesn't account for it misfiring over here and you getting sent up here or whatever, right? But like, whatever. Otherwise, for pit, there's two routes. No, I think just doing this is just fastest. It's kind of broken, but yeah, whatever. And then there's also the fact that there's like off-road right here. Let me show you on track. A lot of the time you just get stuck, like you just have trains of people. It's funny, you know, having people just like being in a train right here. But the main concern is right here, because then you bump them and then you lose speed and then it's slower. I don't think that's that big of a concern for BWC settings, because like I said, no one's taking it like that seriously. So like whatever, you lose like a second, okay, deal with it. You're not crying over it. You lose a second in off season or like All Stars or something, I think that's a little more crying, but it's still not the end of the world. Yeah. Don't change the cannon sound effect. Cannon sound effect is funny. Here. It's great. Maybe close these off. I've marked them. Yeah, you can just, yeah, I'll do it now. Womp. It makes the track look worse. Cool. Yeah, keep this open so you can look. Here, let me show you. On Bocam. I think I'm using like the highest number you can for the sensitivity. Look how much you see. You see like all of that. And assuming the server is like player view distance isn't garbage, which I guess to be fair we are doing with BRWC, so it might be. But assuming that it isn't, I think it isn't in most cases, you can see a good chunk back. You can see like up to like 4 or 5 seconds back, especially like right here. Like you can still see like from here to here, which is good. Yeah, so that's what that's about. Yeah, anyways, back to overhead. Other things to keep in mind. How easy is the track to learn? Which I guess that goes back into how you TT the track, or like TTing, or making the track for racing, not TTing. And I think learning the track, most of the time you do through TT. Well, no, this is BRWC. People don't practice, so some people might just show up. To be fair, this is the legacy. Not a legacy track, but it's an old track, and I think a lot of people know it already. But people don't do fun races here. I don't know. Oh, dang it. Okay, cool. Oh yeah, another thing. This is lame. It helps spread out the grid, but now quality is, oh no, I missed pawn skip. I'm going to go over here, and set a fast lap now, because I have more speed. I don't even know if it's faster to start from back here. I mean, you do have a lot more velocity, but you're using some of it, like right here. But I guess not all of it. So yeah, it's probably a little bit faster. So the fastest line is now to do this. And then the question becomes, are people sweaty enough in BRWC to do this? I think fantasy is. I think some people are. And I think it's within reason to, for the future of BRWC, like a year and a half from now, you might have new people show up and start being as sweaty or not sweatier. And we might have our current people get sweatier. I don't know. I wouldn't see Gustav getting sweatier. I wouldn't see Renault getting sweatier, but like, I don't know, like Oinks might get sweatier. I don't know. New people just show up and start sweating. So in that case, people are going to use this more. Do we want this? I think it's kind of bleh. I think people are going to drive into each other right here, and then there's going to be sadness, and then just the fact that this is optimal is kind of sad, right? So I don't know what I would do. I maybe just like push this one block up. Like here, let me. Like it would affect the race start, but like, I mean, I don't know. I can adjust the grids to do it. So yeah, like just. Me womp, 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 womp. Very roughly do this, right? So now there's no boat details. You can't go back, right? Oh no, I can't get that. Right? This will affect TT, I guess, but like, I don't know. And yeah, if you start up here, I can push this grid forward like 5 blocks or something to account for the speed loss. Right, because you use speed when dropping. But yeah, right. So that's how I could fix that. I think that's how I would do it. Yeah. So then we get rid of that. We haven't even talked about the pit re-entry yet. There is a loud boom when they pit. There's also an indicator in chat when it's like, Adam's Apple has completed pit 2, right? And you can see that you can react to the sound, and then that's a lot to react to, and then you also can just see them coming out right here. You can see them dropping. I think you see them like from here, right? So like from like right here to like right here is your time to react. And I think that's okay amount of time to react, but then it comes back to like the same exact evaluation as this, the same exact thing. Where's the point where you can react? Is that enough time to react? And let's see. Let's check it out. React. I think it is. I think you have enough time, right? I mean, it takes forever for them to back actually. Yeah, that's a significant amount. I think it's fine. I don't remember any issues coming from this. I mean, like, of course, you know, someone's stupid, like me. I might have bumped someone when they were exiting their pit, sure, but it's like, I think that's a me issue, not a track issue. I think, well, this is BRWC, no one's gonna like I said for over here, no one's actually gonna like come to think of like the, oh yeah, where's the point where I could react and what should I do, and they're not gonna mentally prepare. So I guess in that case, I don't know, maybe some more time to react would be nice. Like instead of like joining back right here, you can just make them go around and like put like a wall right here so they can't just like drive through, and then so they have like people driving can see them go all the way over here. Maybe make it more obvious. I don't know, like like we wouldn't want to use the command blocks obviously, but like if you just give them glowing, there's no way that they're gonna miss them. I mean, I guess you could because you're looking at the ground because you're a boat racer, but like we're giving them a lot of time to see, right? So then they eventually come back on track. Like that could work, right? And then hell, you can even make them enter right here where they're still off the line. So the line is over here, right? So they're still like way off the line, so they have even more time to react, right? So I guess I don't see a problem with doing this. I think it leads to like a more fair, less chaotic race. So honestly, I would probably do that. Yeah. So yeah, not have it re-enter. I mean, it would be less funny, but like are we trying to make a funny race or a competitively sound race, right? And I'd say competitively sound. I mean, funny is also great, but like I'm gonna, for the sake of this video, prioritize competitive viability for over what's it called. I think that's about it. It's only took 2.5 hours or whatever, so let's see here. Like we went over, and I guess this is also the question of do we open this up, right? I mean, I don't see a problem with it. We're assuming that it's equal time loss. Like it's the same pit delta with up here as it is with the Joker app over here. And then I guess that also brings up complications of like what if they double pit? Because you can't pit. Time system does not let you pit twice in one lap. So if you hypothetically went over here, you did Joker lap, and then you went over across, and then you went through here, and then the pit counted right here, or the pit region was right here, you wouldn't get the second pit because you haven't finished your lap yet. You've already done a pit in that lap, right? So what is that? Oh, okay. Why is it like that on the map? What is this? What is that, bruh? Anyways, like I think that's about it. So like I've said, so like remove this section, just get rid of it. It doesn't really do much, and it's like, I mean, it might be a little bit like I remember this section. I'm like, oh yeah, this is Boingburg, but like I think this is a lot more like important for identity than this section, and I think that this is just so bad that it's not even worth keeping it for the sake of identity. This is like somewhat okay. I mean, like it's not. I don't know. Whatever. I think it's okay. Maybe on a different day I would just decide otherwise. In which case, yeah, just nuke this thing. This just nuked. This might stay. But yeah, like this just nuked. Maybe some other day. But yeah, I think that's about it. I'm surprised if anyone wants to do this. Like I said, I hope this is like educational. Helps because like right now, like so many people are that's what I'll say. So many people are just like they herp to their freaking like they go into like roll that and they dude they okay, I'm gonna go this and I'm gonna do this and then not now and then I want a chicane right here or whatever, and then I want a long curve and then a hairpin and then another hairpin and then start finish straight and you go this way and pit lane and done, and then they spend 2 hours decorating it and expect greatness. That's a whole other can of worms. But like they don't think about things like where the hell did the drivers finish, or like I mean I can't fault them for not thinking about control, like a bump control and mistake control, or like I haven't even talked about what the pit delta should be. God dang it. Lap is a minute, so maybe like 30 seconds. Well, no, if you pit twice in a row, then you're right in the same spot. So maybe like 20 seconds or 35. If you do 35, then if you pit twice in a row, then you're 10 seconds ahead of where you were 2 laps ago. So I guess, yeah, 35 seconds. I don't know what the pit delta is. If it's slower, then I guess, yeah, if we want to make it slower, or, yeah, adjust the time in general, just push this off-road further. It's like, wow, now that's like an extra like 5 seconds. Wow, right? Or I can just do, wow, that's like 10 seconds slower or 10 seconds faster now, right? That's how I would do. That's how I would adjust it. Because like this is fine. Yeah, I don't want to adjust that. Cool. Anything else? Oh wait, no, podium's in here. Right, okay, you CP them out here. Yeah, okay, so no, you finished the race over here. That's sad. That's very sad. You finished the race over here, but the podium's over here. So for you to get there, you either drive backwards on track, you drive backwards on track, backwards spawn skip, or you get teleported. I mean, yeah, in this case, it's teleporting them. And what happens if they get teleported? The racing line is like right here. So like they have even more buffer. I think it's okay. I mean, I think some more incentive to not get back on track is probably wouldn't hurt, but then we get to talk more about decoration. Didn't even talk about decoration. Decoration in this track is kind of sad. I made this pretty early on, and I'm not a good builder still, but I can do better than this. Like it's just empty. What is this? Like, I know I said this is like an empty corner, but I can go downwards. If you look at fourth layer, there's a crater on turn 1. That doesn't get in the way at all of visibility, but like, hey, it's decoration. It's not empty fucking space. And this, like, I know that, like, you know, I'm referencing like the actual shot from the game, but like I could add things like a desert or something, or I don't know. And like, you know, the trees are the same trees that copy pasted, and like. It's so empty. Yeah, and there's no elevation either. There's like this. This is the only elevation in the whole track. So yeah, decoration can use a lot of work. Maybe some more explanation for pawn chip, making it more obvious. I don't know how the hell I would do that. Maybe like add torches. Yeah, a torch trail would help. It would totally make the track look worse, but like it would help show, oh yeah, this is a line, by the way, you should follow this torch trail and try it and see what happens. And then they get like to here without falling, and they're like, oh my god, what the heck, I didn't fall, what the heck, and then they get confused and don't ever drive the track again. But whatever, we don't gotta think about that. we do, but I'm not gonna. It's gone too far. It's just gone an hour, 2.5 hours. Let's see here. Yeah, so for decoration, my how I would change the track is I just make the decoration better. Fill out the empty spaces, add some elevation. Yeah. Do anything with this? Nah, I mean, like, this is a short version of your like a Boingburg that I've never used once. You just replace the brown concrete with ice and you remove these walls. There used to be levers actually that like push up walls over here. Right, so like are the pistons still down here? No, they're not. But yeah, there would be like pistons, you know, press the lever like right here and then push these up and like remove this wall. Or like this used to be packed ice so the wall would go down. Now it's a more permanent wall. And you know, replace the concrete with whatever, and then now you have like a lower lap time track, or just different. Or hell, you can even just cut out this. You can cut out the slime ball gimmick without even like disabling it. You just do this route, and I don't even know. I've never even I've done this like a little bit like 2 years ago. I drove this a little bit, but it wasn't even. Yeah, I don't know. Then you have different start line if you just want to do like this. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'm not gonna comment on it. It's whatever. I don't think it's ever gonna get used, especially for BWC. Yeah, no, it's never gonna get used. Yeah. Okay. Am I done? Am I finally done? Well, I mean, if we're gonna talk specifics, I'd probably just get rid of this entirely. If I could find a different solution to like having a spread out grid without having to go like this is an extra like 5 seconds or something every lap, every time trial lap. But like now we're getting into time trialing. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 seconds every lap. If you're grinding this track heavily, that's a lot of time, bro. So yeah, ideally we'd get rid of it somehow. I'm gonna get rid of this. Hold on. All right, if you have OCD, you can start looking now. Hey, I got rid of it. Let's go. All right. Anyways, I think that's about it. I should probably stop. I should probably start thinking about making lunch and stuff. Yeah, if anyone wants to do these changes, go for it. I can, if you want to, I guess. Like, go for it. I can give you a schematic of the track and do it in single player or somewhere else, and like I can check back when you're done or whatever. If you really want to, I don't know why you would, but like if you really wanted to, go for it. I guess I wouldn't be against it. Just let me know. But yeah, like I said, I hope this has been educational. I hope builders start thinking a lot more about track building beyond just herp to dirt. Let's make a layout and like just tune it, I guess, and cool. Like, yeah. So, I might do more of these in the future. This one took forever. I don't think I'm gonna explain everything I explained in this video in future ones. I might just, if I do future ones, I might just do a point. Why am I saying this? Anyways, you don't care. I'm saying goodbye. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. Bye bye.